Chapter 142. Oh. Baya chuckled. It seems that I don't want to hear your important things. Mu Shaoxing paused. Baya smiled more brightly and looked at the elevator. I'm just kidding. I promised to work for you for 5 years. There's no reason not to work. You seem to have become naughty. I'm happy for you. Mu Shaoxing softened his tone. Baya did not speak and pressed the button for the elevator to go down. I was worried before. I heard that the university kept you as a professor, and the FBI also extended an olive branch to you. The cases you solved in the United States were very sensational. I thought you wouldn't come back, Mu Shaoxing said with a sigh. I will definitely do what I promised you, but I also want to discuss with you. Here's the thing. I will work for you and you can give me tasks, but I won't work. I want to open a psychological clinic. Is that okay? Baya's tone was not aggressive. Of course. I didn't sponsor you much. I didn't expect you to be so outstanding. I am very satisfied that you can come back to help me. Mu Shaoxing was easy to talk to. Thank you. Now let's talk about the things on your side. Let me see what I can do. Baya asked. This matter involves a senior official, so the police are looking for my resources. If I can't solve this case, it will be more troublesome. Mu Shaoxing said. Tell me in detail. I have time from now until evening. Let me treat you to dinner today. Baya said calmly. Mu Shaoxing found that the current Baya had changed a lot from 3 years ago. 3 years ago she had been gloomy, dispirited, bored, and hopeless. But now she was full of the charm of an intellectual woman. She could talk and laugh moderately. She was more charming than 3 years ago. He sent Baya to stay in the international hotel in a city and had dinner in the hotel restaurant. Do you want the company to arrange accommodation for you? Mu Shaoxing asked with concern. No need. I will buy a house when I am free. Let's talk about the things on your side. Baya took out a notebook and a pen from her bag. She took a sip of lemonade and waited for him to speak. The victim's name is Angie. She is 53 years old. Her younger brother was general and of the Ministry of National Defense. Her husband was Song Jianren. He was 54 years old this year and was the deputy minister of the Ministry of Finance. On the day of the incident, a few people were playing mahjong in her house. Xiong Dani is also playing mahjong. Xiong Dani's uncle is Su Zheng, the vice director of the Commission for Discipline Inspection. Her son is Su Jiran, the CEO of a large corporation. He has a powerful political background and is not to be trifled with. At that time, Xiong Dani was sitting on the east side, and Angie was sitting in her favorite seat. Sitting in the southern seat was Chang Rian, the wife of the governor of a state. Sitting in the north seat is Mao Yu, the daughter of Angie's classmate. She is currently working in the finance department of the Ministry of Finance. Angie introduced her to her brother's son. In other words, she is the future daughter-in-law of the Minister of Defense, Mu Shaoxing explained. Baya expressionlessly wrote down the identity and position of these people, as well as where they were sitting. She didn't expect that after 3 years, they would meet in such a way. Besides these people playing mahjong, who else was in the room? And how did Angie die? Baya asked coldly. There were 2 nannies, a housekeeper and 2 bodyguards. Among them, Song Jianren's sister, Song Shiyu, was here. Baya was stunned. Song Jianren is Song Shiyu's younger brother? Baya was surprised. She didn't know much about Gu Lingqing's family. Yes, Song Shiyu's husband is Gu Tianhang, the vice director of the military commission. Song Shiyu's son, Gu Lingqing, is the leader of the special military region, the youngest general, and the most popular presidential candidate. All of them are people with prominent backgrounds. This morning, Angie's brother, General N, gave the order to solve the case within a week. The police found me and I studied the case. It's a big deal, so I didn't dare to do it easily. So I came to discuss it with my brother, but he didn't dare to take it, Mu Shaoxing explained. The people involved are either rich or powerful. If there is any mistake, you may be killed. You shouldn't take this job. Baya judged rationally. Mu Shaoxing sighed helplessly. I am the director of the research institute. The police gave the highest order. I have to take it. I can't refuse it. My brother can refuse it because it's a personal invitation. The research institute can't refuse it. I can only tell you that I will take it because I promised to give you a job. But maybe some people don't want me to take it. You should be prepared. Baya reminded him. What? Mu Shaoxing was puzzled. As soon as he asked this question, Baya knew that he actually knew nothing about her. Xiong Dani is my ex-husband's mother. Chang Rian is my stepmother. Song Shiyu. I have some unpleasant experiences with her. Do you think they will cooperate with me? I can only say that I will do my best. Mu Shaoxing was speechless. You are Su Jiran's ex-wife. It is said that there is a woman in Su Jiran's heart who changed his life. For this woman he changed his previous lifestyle. In the past he didn't reject anyone. Now he doesn't touch women. Is the woman he loves you? Mu Shaoxing was shocked. Baiya remembered what Su Jiran said 3 years ago. No matter if it was 3 years, 10 years or 30 years, I will wait for you. Her eyes darkened. Time is a good thing. It can dilute feelings but it can't heal wounds. I fell on a man once and I won't fall again. You deserve better. Mu Shaoxing said with a smile. He had feelings for Baiya, especially when Baiya came to him. He always fantasized that he could have some romantic feelings with Baiya. After all, he was elegant, had identity, status, looks and knowledge. However, he only had sincere appreciation and admiration for Baiya now. He didn't dare to have any improper thoughts. I will continue to talk about the case. There are a few special things about this case. At 10:30 p.m. there was a power outage. The housekeeper took one of the housekeepers to get a candle. One of the security guards went to check the cause of the power outage. Xiong Dani took out a mobile phone from her bag to light up the light. Angie fell down. How long was the interval between the power outage and the light? What was the cause of death? Baiya interrupted Mu Shaoxing's words. This is what I want to talk about. It is suspenseful and unbelievable. There was about 10 seconds between the power outage and Xiong Dani took out the mobile phone to light up the light. The cause of Angie's death was the silver needle that was stained with the poison of the dark poison would inserted into her temple. The problem is, how did she find the temple so accurately in a dark environment? It is worth mentioning that everyone sat in their seats and didn't move. Chapter 143. Do you have a clue now? Baiya asked and closed the notebook. The waiter served the food. If I had a clue, would I come to ask my senior brother for help? I'm confused now. The key is that Angie's brother also limited the date. How can we solve the case? Mu Shaoxing said helplessly. Baiya smiled. We'll cross the bridge when we get to it. Can we go to the victim's house after dinner? It's routine. Should be okay. I'll call the director later. The director is under more pressure than me. Mr. Song should not be at home at this time in the afternoon. It's easier if he's not at home, Mu Shaoxing said. Why is it easier if he's not at home? Baiya asked casually. Who would be willing to have other people look around and rummage around in their own home? I thought it was difficult for you to deal with his character. Baiya suddenly thought of the pregnant girl. Does Angie have a child? Yes, a boy. He used to be in the military of Gulingqing. He was a lieutenant colonel. This time his mother had an accident, so he should come back. Mu Shaoxing said. Baiya nodded. She didn't ask too much about Gulingqing's family members. After all, it had nothing to do with her. After dinner they came out of the hotel. The rain was still pitter-pattering and there was no sign of it stopping. The director of the police station specially sent 3 of the most capable policemen to go with Baiya and Mu Shaoxing. When they arrived, Baiya found that Angie's family, Gulingqing, Su Jiran, and Su Zheng all lived in the same villa area. She got out of the car. Although she had an umbrella, the rain was too heavy and she was still wet. Entering the villa, it was not the door to the inner room but a well-designed entrance. There were many disposable shoe covers on the entrance, and there was a special place for umbrellas. The design is very good. Was it designed by a design company? Baiya asked. It was designed by Mr. Song. The housekeeper replied respectfully. Baiya looked at Mu Shaoxing. Mu Shaoxing smiled. Mr. Song is a very meticulous man. He's very observant, meticulous, cultured and elegant. He seems to be tolerant, but he also pursues perfection. His EQ is very high and he's in a high position. Such a man should be very popular among girls, Baiya judged. Miss, your judgment is completely correct. Mr. Song is indeed as you said, the nanny said in surprise. You are simply too amazing. I can only judge that he is attentive, but you can judge so much. How did you do it? Mu Shaoxing said in admiration. From the design of the entryway and the psychology of women. Baiya put on the shoe covers. The nurse opened the door. Gulingqing was also there. He sat on the sofa with a cigarette between his fingers. Amidst the fog, he looked at her. His expression was a little unclear. Behind him stood 2 uniformed soldiers. Sitting opposite Gulingqing was a young man. He bore a striking resemblance to Gulingqing. Baiya judged that the young man should be Angie's son. The nanny walked to Gulingqing's side, nodded respectfully and reported, young master, people from the police station are here. Song Yi looked at Baiya with red eyes. Please find the murderer as soon as possible. Baya didn't speak. Mu Shaoxing smiled and said, I will do my best. He was slightly stunned when he saw Gu Lingqing. Young master, wasn't he the chief of the special military region, the popular presidential candidate and the legendary figure Gu Lingqing? Gu Lingqing's appearance, temperament, and demeanor were very recognizable. Even if it was a glimpse 3 years ago, he could still remember it. Now he understood why Baya said that she had some disagreements with Song Shiyu. Gu Lingqing was Song Shiyu's son. Was it possible that Baya and Gu Lingqing had some relationship? Mu Shaoxing was shocked and turned to look at Baya. Baya was so calm that it made people's hair stand on end. She asked Song Yi in a businesslike manner, May I have a look around? Yes, Baoma, show this policeman around. Song Yi ordered. Baya walked to the area where the deceased died. The mahjong table was in the southernmost area of the living room. The one in the east is Xiong Dani, the one in the west is Anji, the one in the south is Chang Rian, and the one in the north is Muyu. Did Anji have a silver needle in her left temple or right temple? Baya looked at the mahjong table and asked. What? Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. Baya turned her head. Gu Lingqing stood beside her and looked at her deeply. Because he was too close. She could clearly see her reflection in his eyes. Ailan, I miss you so much. This sentence flashed in Baya's mind, and her heart was hit fiercely. She retracted her gaze and walked to Mu Shaoxing, who was still standing 2 meters away. It was only 10 seconds from the blackout to the death of the deceased. Almost no one moved. According to this logic, the only possibility is Mao Yu. It's very difficult to insert a silver needle with one hand. Moreover, it's the temple and it's in the dark. I don't think it's her. Haven't you seen her? She's soft and thin. She cut her wrist with her right hand. I'm afraid she doesn't have the strength to do it. Mu Shaoxing explained. Gu Lingqing's gaze fell on Baya's wrist. There was a scar on her arm. It had been some time. The scar turned white, but it didn't disappear, so it was clearly visible. When Baya heard the words, cut her wrist was cold and painful. Let's go to the room and have a look. Baoma pushed the door of the corridor and said respectfully, This is Madame's room. Baya walked in. There was a bed of 1.8 meters by 1.8 meters. There was a pillow on the bed and the quilt was neatly folded. Next to the bed was a bedside table and a dressing table. There was a lot of cosmetics on the dressing table. Baya picked up a few of them, glanced at them and put them down. She opened Angie's wardrobe. After looking around, her gaze fell on a few boxes of slimming belts. She casually flipped through them and slightly raised the corner of her mouth. She opened the drawer of the bedside table. There were a lot of things in the drawer. Cold medicine, 3 photos, wound ointment, romance novels, socks and slimming pills. She took out the photos. One of them was taken in Bali last summer. She had a bright smile, was a little fat and made a V-shaped gesture. The other was a photo of her son participating in the military parade. Under the sun, the young man in a military uniform was very handsome. He raised his smile and there were 2 tiger teeth. The other photo was an old photo. A tall and strong man hugged the young girl. She was slender and her smile was sweet. The flowers and plants were beautiful. If you find anything, can you tell me? Gu Lingqing said. My superior should report to you, Baya said lightly. Gu Lingqing walked behind her. His aura was too strong. Her back was tense. Chapter 144. 3.5 years can change a lot of things such as work, relationships and living environment, Baya said calmly. She walked away and kept a safe distance from him. Gu Lingqing held her hand. He pulled her in front of him with great strength. Baya didn't expect him to do that. She fell into his hard embrace. The familiar scent came to her. Baya was flustered, so she was furious. She pulled her hand out and slapped Gu Lingqing's face. It was a loud slap. 3 red fingerprints appeared on his face. Gu Lingqing narrowed his eyes and looked at her coldly. Baya knew that she had gone overboard, so she looked down. Are you afraid of me? Gu Lingqing looked at her and observed the reaction on her face. Baya looked at him. Some abnormal behaviors are related to the person's experience. I was raped before, so I really don't like it when people touch me and force me. If I offended Chief Gu, please forgive me. Gu Lingqing's eyes darkened. The scars that ordinary women would try their best to hide, but she could so easily show them. Either she had let it go, or she was deliberately discrediting herself in front of him. Baya nodded, turned around and went out. She said to Baoma, please bring me to Mr. Song's room. Okay, this way please. Baoma went upstairs. Baya looked back at Mu Shaoxing. She was a little annoyed. She lowered her voice and said, "Follow closely. You are here to solve the case, not to stand aside and be a decoration." Mu Shaoxing touched his nose. He saw that Gu Lingqing had gone in. He must give them some space. He didn't dare to go in. Bao Ma pushed the door open. The room was spotless and emitted a faint fragrance. There was a desk, and the books on the desk were neatly arranged. There were 3 treasures of the study on the desk, a painting tube and many white scrolls. Baya took it out and looked at it casually. There were ink paintings, calligraphy, and poems written by Song Jianren. It was very particular. There was a seal on the lower right corner. The name on the seal was Mr. Renmu. Above the big bed hung a wedding photo of Mr. Song and Angie. Baya opened the bedside table. The cupboard was empty except for a bottle of cologne. There was nothing in it. Baya also opened her wardrobe. Mr. Song was a very particular person. Suits and shirts, winter and summer, were all clearly distinguished meticulously. "Bao Ma, can I ask you some regular questions?" Baya asked politely. Bao Ma was afraid of saying the wrong thing, but she did not dare to not answer the police's questions. She was trembling with fear. "What do you want to ask?" Bao Ma asked softly. "Let's find a quiet place to sit for a while. You don't have to be nervous. Just talk casually," Baya said with a smile. Bao Ma nodded. "Then let's go to the reception room on the 2nd floor." Bao Ma was walking in front. Baya turned her head and said to the people at the police station, "Call young Master Song along. I'll ask them together." "Yes." Bao Ma pushed open the door to the reception room. There was a fruit plate on the coffee table, an ashtray, fresh fruit in the fruit plate, and a goblet with cigarettes in it. Baya sat down on the sofa and took out a notebook and pen from her bag. Song Yi came in and so did Gu Lingqing. As soon as he came in, the atmosphere in the reception room became heavy. This man had the ability to change the atmosphere. Baya looked at Gu Lingqing's eyes. He looked at her deeply, his gaze as dark as ink. She did not like his gaze. It was like a beast hibernating in the dark. It was too focused, too strong, and full of aggressiveness. "How is your father and mother's relationship?" Mu Shaoxing asked Song Yi first. "My father is a man who takes good care of his family. He is very considerate to my mother. Many people envy my mother for marrying such a good husband. My mother is very kind, optimistic, and straightforward. People around her like my mother very much." Song Yi was sure. "My mother is very kind, optimistic, kind-hearted, and straightforward," Song Yi said with certainty. "How often do you go home?" Baya asked Song Yi. "The military rules are stricter. I can only come out for half a day every Sunday. I spend more time with my brothers," Song Yi replied to Baya. "So you don't go home often, right? When was the last time you went home?" Baya asked. "A month ago. A month ago my mother injured her leg. My father even specially took a leave to accompany my mother. They are a very standard model couple," Song Yi said sincerely. Baya looked at Bao Ma. Bao Ma lowered her head, twisting her apron, very nervous. "I believe that Mrs. Song is a very good person. She is warm-hearted and carefree. She has never treated you as an outsider. You also want to help her find the murderer, right? Her spirit in heaven will thank you," Baya said softly to Bao Ma. "Mrs. Song is indeed very good. She is never harsh to the servants. Last time, my family was in urgent need of money. Mrs. Song gave me 20,000 without a second thought. Who killed our Mrs. Song?" Bao Ma was a little emotional, her eyes red. "Has Mrs. Song been behaving strangely recently? For example, would she shut herself in her room for a long time?" Baya asked. "Ever since Mrs. Song was discharged from the hospital after the fall, she has been in a bad mood," Bao Ma replied. "Before the fall, was she in a good mood? Was she in a good mood to the point where she would buy cosmetics, put on makeup, lose weight, buy pretty clothes, do facial treatments, and learn to dance?" Baya asked. Bao Ma was very surprised. "How did you know?" Baya already knew. She smiled. "How many times does Mr. Song come home a week?" Bao Ma's face was pale as she looked at Song Yi. "What do you mean?" "My father comes home every day no matter how late he works." Song Yi frowned. "A month ago Mr. Song came home 2 to 3 times a week. Recently he came home every day. However, he is not in a good mood, right?" Baya followed up with a question. Bao Ma was even more surprised. "How did you know?" Song Yi stared straight at Baya. His eyes widened. "What do you mean by this? What are you hinting at?" Baya smiled and looked at Song Yi calmly. "It's nothing. I'm just asking. We've troubled you today. It's time for us to leave." Baya stood up. Song Yi followed closely and said anxiously, "Speak clearly." Your father and mother love you very, very much. That's all you need to know. Baya walked towards the door. Sit down. Tell me in detail. Tell me what you think, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. Baya did not turn around. You know, if I make a call, the chief might bring you to my military base for a discussion. I don't want to be that troublesome. Baya turned around to look at Gu Lingqing. She felt that Gu Lingqing was really domineering at times. He was so domineering that people could not resist at all. Chapter 145. I have a fiancé, Gu Lingqing said in a deep voice. His expression was hard to read. Baya's heart skipped a beat. Unexpectedly, it still hurt. Gu Lingqing and Su Shaoling had been engaged for more than 3 years, but they still hadn't gotten married. Did he still miss Zhou Hailan? Baya lowered her eyes and sat down on the sofa. He could tell her directly that he was engaged, which meant that he also wanted to keep a distance from her. There was no need for her to reject him because of her guilty conscience. What I'm about to say is just a judgment. If I'm wrong, please forgive me. Baya greeted him first. Just say it. Hurry up. Songyi was rather impulsive. He furrowed his brows and stared at Baya. On the surface, your mother appears to be carefree and careless. She doesn't pay attention to details and is too casual. In fact, she's sensitive, but she covers it with optimism and cheerfulness. She's kind, gentle, and considerate like a young girl, Baya judged. You're right. Go on. Songyi urged. On the surface, your father is elegant, noble, gentle, and very cultured. He was born into a prestigious family, and his upbringing were excellent. He is talented, pays attention to details, meticulous, and pursues perfection. In reality, he is very harsh and very prideful. When he becomes fierce, it is as if he has become a different person. He tries his best to hide this unknown side of himself, Baya continued. Song-yi pursed his lips and was a little angry. The first half is right. But how did you judge the second half? I think you're talking nonsense. Your father prepared shoe covers at the entrance. The shoe cover box was placed in the most obvious position, facing the door. In fact, he doesn't like people coming to his house. But he's self-restrained and doesn't go too far. At most, what he doesn't see, he doesn't grieve. People who don't like people visiting them don't like to visit others either. They may be open-minded, but they're absolutely guarded against others. This kind of person is selfish, which contradicts your father's upbringing. So he represses it in his heart. Your mother, on the other hand, was carefree, enthusiastic, kind and generous, and liked to socialize with people. As a result, your father squeezed more and more of these things. These things can also be seen in your father's paintings. His painting realm was very high, so high that it was like a fantasy story. There was always something oppressive in his paintings, which made the whole picture not so harmonious. One of the paintings was a landscape painting. The landscape was surrounded by clouds and mist, making it look like a celestial realm. However, in the lower left corner of the painting, there were a few people. Although it was a few strokes, it was obvious what it was trying to express. A man in his prime went to seek immortality, but he was stopped by a few people. The painting reflects his state of mind, Baya analyzed. Don't tell me you think my father is the murderer. My father isn't at home at all. He's receiving the special envoy of the United States at this time, Song-yi said unhappily. Baya smiled faintly. Your father and mother haven't been married for at least 5 years, maybe even longer, maybe more than 10 years. Song-yi was young after all, so he blushed. They have a good relationship. Gu Lingqing looked at Baya deeply. His eyes were too dark, like a whirlpool that could swallow everything. Baya deliberately ignored his gaze and said, when your father was young, he fell in love with your mother's romantic, lively and lovely youth. Your mother was also a beauty when she was young. After giving birth, a woman's figure would more or less change. Your father was a perfectionist. As the trifles of life, familiarity, and your mother's figure became more and more out of shape, they stopped being married. In the end, your father completely hated living with a fat, sloppy woman who liked to play mahjong. From his paintings and inscriptions, it can be seen that he came back 2 or 3 days a week. He came back only because of his responsibility and the influence of his perfectionism. Your mother was meticulous. When she found out that your father disliked her, she thought about losing weight. It was hard for her to lose weight. She dieted and exercised, but she couldn't overcome her age, appetite, and physique. She gave up. Until she found out that your father had another woman outside. This woman was as beautiful as a painting. Her waist was as thin as a willow. She was a lady from a respectable family. She talked elegantly and was knowledgeable. She liked history and was good at painting. Your mother was very sad, but she didn't tell anyone. She was happy in front of others but sad in the back. She loved her husband very much. She tolerated everything and would never affect his career. She went jogging, to the gym, to swim, to change silently. Because of her bad mood, the gym, and the lack of appetite, she quickly lost weight. In the past year she had attracted a man. The man was much younger than your mother and the two of them had sex. This relationship was discovered by your father because of your mother's foot injury. Your father wanted to turn back but your mother couldn't. Hurt, betrayal, favor, and love made her decide to divorce. Therefore, the murderer could be her husband's subordinates, her husband's other woman, her brother, and herself. Go check her bank account. You should be able to find her boyfriend. Maybe you can find some clues, Baya said. Song-yi stood up anxiously. Are you making up a story? Are you a novelist? How can you make up such a ridiculous story? This concerns a human life. You can't just slander and smear it. This can be deduced from your mother's cosmetics, accessories, and recent style. Also, this is just my guess. If you want to know the truth, you can ask your father or wait for the results of our investigation. Baya stood up. If you spout nonsense, I guarantee that you'll have to bear the consequences, Song-yi warned fiercely. Baya looked at Song-yi. She wasn't angry. She smiled and said, You and your mother have a very good relationship. You had a relationship that ended because of your father's interference. So, you actually love and hate your father. Song-yi looked at Baya in surprise. You investigated me? You're wearing a necklace with a simple Li character on it. It should be a gift from your ex-girlfriend. You like her a lot. When I mentioned your mother, there was shock, heartache, and anger in your eyes. When I mentioned Song Jianren, besides hatred, there was disdain, disgust, and sneer in your eyes, Baya explained. Chapter 146. When Gu Lingqing asked her to go, she couldn't refuse. Psychology was mainly used to judge a person's psychology through their words and deeds, behavior, eyes, conversation, and expressions. This was very useful for ordinary people. However, some people were very shrewd and hid their emotions very well. They would not easily reveal their true thoughts. Even their expressions were controlled to the point of perfection, making others feel that they were either unfathomable or secretive. Gu Lingqing was such a person. 3 years ago, he might still have the impulsiveness and irrationality of a hot-blooded young man. After more than 3 years, he had matured, restrained, and was colder, more domineering, and stronger than before. Now he was a real king. Baya followed Gu Lingqing to the study room on the first floor. Close the door, said Gu Lingqing as he sat on the sofa, typing a text message on his phone and sent it out. He placed his phone on the coffee table. Baya suddenly felt pressured. She sat opposite him and looked at Gu Lingqing, meeting his ink-black eyes. Gu Lingqing was examining her. Silence was better than words. Baya let him look at her without saying a word or showing any expression. She couldn't back down. At this time, whoever looked away first would be guilty. His gaze lasted for more than 10 minutes. It was so quiet that they could hear each other's breathing. Gu Lingqing's lips curved upwards. Detective Bai, don't you have anything to say? Leader Gu is a very calm and composed person. You know yourself very well. I don't have a direct relationship with you. You're not the investigator that I'm in charge of this case. If I analyze you and my analysis is wrong, you will feel that I'm not worthy of my title and despise me. If my analysis is correct and I expose the secret that you're hiding in your heart, you'll feel uncomfortable and alert. After thinking about it, you'll feel that it's dangerous and I might be killed. So, I think it's better for me to keep quiet. What do you think, Leader Gu? Baya asked. You're narrow-minded and overheard too much. No matter what you said, I'll forgive you and I won't hold you accountable, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice, leaning against the sofa in a lazy manner. From this posture, she could tell that he was very relaxed and was just chatting with her. It was indeed harmless. He was harmless, but that didn't mean she would spill everything. Baya smiled and said, Isn't the bureau chief busy today? He has the leisure to do some boring things. A sharp look flashed across Gu Lingqing's eyes. He straightened his body and stared at her sharply. There was no joking expression on his face. Tell me now if there's anything wrong with what you said just now, just based on the fact that you slandered my uncle and aunt, and caused psychological pressure and trauma to my cousin. Just because of this, you'll be thrown into prison and can't get out for the rest of your life. Gu Lingqing's tone was commanding. There was no room for rejection. His face changed faster than flipping a book. Baya realized that what he said was true. Her face became serious and she didn't dare to be negligent. She said in a businesslike manner, There is a very dark place in your heart. Gu Lingqing sneered. His expression was indecipherable and no one could tell what he was thinking about. Go on. Gu Lingqing said. You have a missing memory. Baya lowered her eyes, and her long eyelashes covered the window of her heart. She didn't look at others and she didn't want others to see her heart. You're very confused about this memory and you're very lost. In the past few years you have been looking for the answer, but you found that someone was stopping you from looking for the answer, and it was your family who stopped you from looking for the answer. So you are injured. When the injury gets worse you will become numb, Baya continued. Do you know why I asked you to show me? Gu Lingqing looked at her with burning eyes. A bad feeling flashed through Baya's mind. Could it be that he wanted her to treat his illness? She looked at Gu Lingqing in shock. Gu Lingqing smiled. I heard that you are a genius in the field of psychology and the top in the field of hypnosis. Seeing you today you are indeed very capable. You guessed it right. I need you to treat my illness. I want to get my past memory back. Baya's eyes turned a little red. She said without thinking, I refuse. Gu Lingqing stood up, pressed his hands on the side of her body and stared at her coldly. The distance between them was only 20 centimeters. His aura was so strong that she almost couldn't breathe. I'm afraid you can't refuse, Gu Lingqing said overbearingly. There was a trace of confusion in Baya's eyes. The current Gu Lingqing, the Gu Lingqing who had lost a memory, seemed to be very different from the previous Gu Lingqing who looked indifferent but was actually enthusiastic. Right now he was truly cold and detached. Even the breath on her face was a little chilly. Why can't I refuse? Baya asked in return. Gu Lingqing lifted her chin and moved closer to her. If you don't believe me you can try. Baya understood. He was a presidential candidate. With his current power, a single word from him would be enough to make her die quietly. She didn't need to hit a rock with an egg. I'll try, but I have to remind you, the people who don't want you to get your memory back the most are your parents. I'm afraid that even if they want to stop you, I can't do anything. I'll get someone to pick you up every week, and we won't have any superficial contact. They won't know, Gu Lingqing promised. He stood up and looked down at her. I'll send you back now. No need, my colleagues will send me back. Baya refused. They left a long time ago. It's raining so heavily now. This place isn't a place that any car can enter. Do you want to stay here? Gu Lingqing asked in return. Baya also stood up and nodded respectfully at Gu Lingqing. Thank you, Chief. Outside the door the rain was still pouring, hitting the car with a pitter-patter. Baya kept looking out of the window. She looked calm, but in fact her heart was like the rain, restless and upset. The driver stopped the car. What's wrong? Gu Lingqing asked. Commander, there's a traffic jam ahead. Many cars are turning back. Maybe the water level is too high, Lieutenant Colonel Song reported. Go to Blue Sky Garden and find someone to solve the problem in front, Gu Lingqing ordered. Yes. Baya frowned. That, Chief, can you drop me off here? I'll walk there and take a taxi. It's raining so heavily and the road ahead is flooded. There won't be any taxis here. According to the traffic jam, even buses won't be able to pass, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice without even looking at her. Baya was a little annoyed. She really didn't like people making decisions for her. I can walk back. Aren't you afraid of being washed away by the water? Gu Lingqing said coldly. I'm not that weak. Gu Lingqing glanced at her. You talk a lot of nonsense. I said to go to Blue Sky Garden, so I'm going to Blue Sky Garden. I won't eat you, so what are you afraid of? When this road is settled, I'll naturally get someone to send you back. Chapter 147. Gu Lingqing had already put it this way. If she insisted, she would feel that she was questioning his character. He would probably be even angrier. She looked out of the window, still feeling restless. That kind of restlessness was the fear of the unknown and the uncertainty that exceeded her own judgment. Her phone rang. She took out her phone from her bag and quickly answered the call when she saw it was from Lu Shuang. Little Bai, where are you now? I skipped work and came out to pick you up. The rain is too heavy, Lu Shuang said righteously. Bai, you seem to have received a timely rain and said, go to Lantian Gardens now. I'm there. Call me when you arrive at Lantian Gardens. Que moi, see you later. Lu Shuang hung up the phone in a hurry. Baya heaved a sigh of relief. Gu Lingqing was expressionless, his eyes dark and gloomy. He said to Lieutenant Colonel Song casually, this kind of heavy rain is very suitable for training the soldiers' will. Arrange for emergency training in 10 minutes. In addition, to ensure the safety of the soldiers, Let everyone in the infirmary be on standby in the office. Baya. She felt that Gu Lingqing did it on purpose. Is his hearing that good? Could it be that he eavesdropped on the conversation between her and Lu Shuang? It seemed that he knew about her relationship with Lu Shuang. She couldn't let Lu Shuang get into trouble. Don't rush the training, it's too dangerous, Baya complained in a low voice. Gu Lingqing looked at Baya, his eyes grim. Training the ability to resist danger now is to be able to survive in the future. Does Detective Bai want to get involved in the affairs of our army? Baya couldn't say a word. Why is Gu Lingqing so two-faced now? She looked out of the window in a fit of pique. Not long after, Lu Shuang called. Emin, that perverted chief wants the soldiers to undergo emergency training in such a heavy rain, and I still have to go there. Does he have any humanity? You're lucky that you didn't. Baya's heart tightened. She didn't want Gu Lingqing to know about their past, so she interrupted. Cool girl, there's no hurry. You go ahead with your work. Since I'm back, I'm not going to leave. We'll have time to meet up anytime. That's the only way. You don't know how strict Gu Lingqing is. I don't even dare to speak loudly in the military. I'll talk to you later. Lu Shuang hung up the phone helplessly. Before Baya could put away her phone, Gu Lingqing turned around and placed one hand on the side of her body. He enveloped her in his aura and examined her with his dark eyes. You were lucky that you didn't follow me back then. What do you mean by this? With every word he said, his breath blew on her face. Baya tried to calm himself down. Gu Lingqing had heard it. Her denial became a cover-up. She smiled. That's exactly what I meant. Gu Lingqing's eyes darkened. He looked at her and said slowly, have you slept with me? Baya didn't expect him to ask this directly. She turned her face away and didn't let him see her eyes. Gu Lingqing understood and said calmly, it seems that you have slept with me. Baya didn't know what to say. She was confused, so she closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Impulse was the devil. Psychology told her that when the brain couldn't think accurately and didn't know how to answer, she shouldn't lie because she was guilty. A lie could lead people to eternal damnation. Baya looked at Gu Lingqing and met his deep eyes. There's nothing memorable about the chief's skills. Gu Lingqing frowned, held her chin and said sternly, what did you say? Fortunately, I didn't follow you. Isn't this sentence full of interesting meanings? Of course, if the chief is angry, I should change my words. The chief's skills are really amazing. Gu Lingqing's frown deepened. He felt uncomfortable when he saw her beaming with joy. He let go of her chin, sat upright and looked ahead gloomily. Baya rubbed her face. Gu Lingqing didn't say anything else. The atmosphere in the car was frozen at zero. She wouldn't deliberately talk to him and expose her guilty conscience. Being cautious was the secret to living a long life. Finally, they arrived at Blue Sky Courtyard. Lieutenant Colonel Song opened an umbrella and came over to support Gu Lingqing. Gu Lingqing looked at Baya, his eyes were still cold. Support her. Yes. Lieutenant Colonel Song came over to support Baya. Baya saw that Gu Lingqing had already walked into the rain. The torrential rain was heavy, shrouding his surroundings in a layer of misty moisture. It was cold and noble. She thought of a saying, you come from the sea when the city is in a storm. She felt a little warmth in her heart, and her eyes were a little moist. Even if he had lost his memory, even if he had become colder, even if he had changed a lot, some things were still in his bones. For example, she was familiar with Gu Lingqing, cold on the outside but warm on the inside. Baya felt a little sad. She turned her face away, took a deep breath to calm herself down, and then followed Lieutenant Colonel Song to the door of his villa. Gu Lingqing went in first and put a few pairs of slippers at the door. The slippers were all for men and the model was bigger. That meant that she might be the first woman to come here. Even if she wasn't, women rarely came to his place. Baya looked down, put on the slippers and went in. Gu Lingqing was pouring water. He didn't look at her and asked indifferently, do you like coffee or juice? Water is fine, Baya said. Gu Lingqing passed the water to Baya. Baya took it expressionlessly. Tell me, how much do you charge for seeing a doctor here? Gu Lingqing asked coldly with a businesslike attitude. Baya took a sip of water and put down the cup. When I was in the United States, I charged $2,000 per hour. That's reasonable. I'll pay you every month. You can start reading now. Gu Lingqing walked to the study room. Baya looked at his back. It was good that he was clear about his finances and his work. At least they wouldn't owe each other anything. Baya followed him into the study room. His study room was very clean and tidy. There were many models of warships on the table. He had many kinds of books. There was a military theory on the table with a pen in the center. Reading and taking notes. His habits hadn't changed. Bai Ye sat opposite him. Let's start, Gu Lingqing said in a deep voice. What do you think your problem is? Bai Ye said softly, knocking on the table lightly. In the past 3 years I often dreamed about a woman. I never saw her face clearly, but she was always there. At first I thought she was my girlfriend, but then I found out she wasn't. Gu Lingqing was suspicious. How did you find out? Bai Ye asked. Chapter 148. Bai Ye's eyes trembled. She looked at Gu Lingqing deeply, trying to find traces of lying on his face. However, there was none. He was even more unfathomable than her. Was she always in his dreams? Did he miss her? Even if he decided not to look back, even if he decided to clear his mind, his heart was still hit hard. We met once 3 years ago on the train. You met me at that time and you were upset about my little finger. A dream was not necessarily a memory. It could also be something that one accidentally remembered. There was once a psychopath who told her teacher her ghost story. She said that her husband's lover's name was Sang Shui. She said that her husband's daughter's name was Meng Yu. In fact, Sang Shui was her daughter's name, and Meng Yu was her daughter's classmate's name. You remember that the woman in your dream had a broken finger. You subconsciously thought that it was me, but in fact it might not be me, Bai Ye explained. Alright, let's start the treatment. Gu Lingqing sat on the chair. Bai Ye stopped thinking and treated Gu Lingqing as an ordinary patient. 3 years ago, your memory stopped in that accident. Bai Ye began to chat. How do you know that my memory stopped in that accident? Gu Lingqing squinted his eyes suspiciously and looked at Bai Ye vigilantly. Bai Ye knew that he said the wrong thing. We knew each other before, didn't we? I know a little about your things. Alright, let's continue. Gu Lingqing said rationally. Can you tell me more? What is the last place you remember? Bai Ye asked. Gu Lingqing's eyes were gloomy. Killing, despair, pain. Bai Ye looked down. In fact, she was the one who suffered the most for Gu Lingqing. So he forgot her existence. He chose to forget her. Now, why should he think about it? Thinking about it was just a burden for both of them. Bai Ye stopped knocking on the table. If your girlfriend gave you a box, what would you want in the box? There is no if, Gu Lingqing said coldly. Chief Gu has a very strong perception and strong willpower. He is not easily hypnotized. For such clients, I usually let them take a pill. Most of the time, the patient did not know that they had eaten it. Their guard would be lowered and it would be easier to hypnotize them. But I felt that if I gave him medicine for no reason, he would be more cautious. Bai Ye rummaged through her bag. He took out a white bottle and a white pill. He placed it in his palm and handed it to Gu Lingqing. Gu Lingqing scrutinized Bai Ye. Bai Ye smiled. Are you afraid that I will poison you? This is your territory. If I poison you to death, I won't be able to live. Right now, I don't want to die. Gu Lingqing held the back of her hand, her red lips brushing across the palm of her hand. It felt like there was an electric current. Bai Ye's body trembled and he retracted his hand. His palms were still a little wet. She rubbed her palms on her clothes. Gu Lingqing glanced at her hand, displeasure flashing across his face. He put the pill in his mouth, drank 2 mouthfuls of water and swallowed the pill. Now you can start. If you doubt someone, don't use him. If you use him, don't doubt him, Gu Lingqing said domineeringly. Bai Ye took out his phone from his bag and played some gentle and elegant music. It was a sunny morning. The wind blew past your face, bringing with it a burst of fragrance. You took a deep breath and felt refreshed. You walked past the rose garden and came to the meadow. The grass on the meadow was soft and comfortable to step on with bare feet. You saw the back of a girl in the distance. The girl was wearing a white dress, sitting on the meadow with bare feet. You slowly walked towards her. Bai Yunchu said softly and looked at Gu Lingqing. Gu Lingqing had already fallen asleep. He leaned against the chair, his brows furrowed and he looked like he had a lot on his mind. There was a layer of sadness in Bai Ye's eyes. You saw the girl. The girl was very beautiful as the person you imagined. She said, Gu Lingqing, sleep with me for a while. You lay on the meadow, bathed in the sunlight, smelled the fragrance of nature and fell asleep peacefully. Gu Lingqing's brows gradually relaxed and he fell into a deep sleep. Bai Ye got up, took a blanket from the sofa and covered Gu Lingqing with it. She walked to the window and looked outside. It was still raining and the wind was very strong. It blew the branches and the branches swayed like a devil. Bai Ye's phone rang. She quickly turned it off, walked out, closed the door and answered the call. What's wrong? Is it convenient for you to answer the phone now? Mu Shaoxing asked. Yes, go ahead. Baya walked towards the door. We investigated according to what you said and found Angie's lover. He was a fitness trainer. He found out that Angie died and was very sad. He said that Angie gave him a box a few days ago and said that if the police were to look for him, he should give the box to the police so that he would be safe. Do you want to come over and take a look? Mu Shaoxing said. Yes, I'm going back to the hotel now. Bring him and the box to my hotel. Baya changed into her shoes. Open the door. Lieutenant Colonel Song and the others stood outside the door like statues, expressionless as they guarded the door. Gu Lingqing's men were indeed well trained. Lieutenant Colonel Song saw Baya and was a little surprised. Where's the chief? He's resting. Don't wake him up. He probably hasn't slept well for a long time. Is it convenient for you to send me away now? Baya asked. Lieutenant Colonel Song was on guard and returned to the study. He was relieved to see that the chief was really resting. He walked out and said to Baya, Detective Bai is really capable. The chief has been haunted by nightmares and often has insomnia. I'll send someone to send you back now. Baya nodded. Thank you. The soldiers sent Baya back to Wui Road. Because of the heavy rain, the car didn't drive fast. An hour later, Baya arrived at the hotel. Mu Shaoxing and the others were already there. Why are you so slow? Baoma said you left a long time ago. Mu Shaoxing scolded. Later, the road over there was flooded. The car was stuck in the middle of the road. Baya looked at the fitness trainer. The fitness trainer was very handsome and strong. His eyes were red. Is Angie really dead? How could this be? We were fine before. Take a look at the box, Baya said. The fitness trainer passed the box to Baya. Baya opened it. There was only a photo inside. Baya had seen this photo before. It was in the drawer of Angie's bedside table. It was a photo of Song Jianren and Angie when they were young. Song Jianlan hugged Angie. They were both smiling brightly. Does this photo mean that the person who killed Angie was Song Jianren? Mu Shaoxing was suspicious. Chapter 149. What you said is also true. Only I can find my own temple in the dark with such accuracy. However, I'm afraid that with just our side of the story, General N will not be convinced. He will feel that we are perfunctory. Mu Shaoxing said worriedly. Let's ask Song Jianren what this photo means to him. I think there should be evidence. Baya said elegantly. Why do you think so? Mu Shaoxing couldn't see the mystery. Angie was ready to commit suicide a few days ago. She can design such a sophisticated plan. In fact, her mind is very delicate. She chose to commit suicide. She was worried that her death would implicate the gym's coach. The information given would not be useless. Baya analyzed. Since she chose to commit suicide, why did she make it so special? Couldn't she simply choose to cut her wrist? The police asked. Baya's eyes paused. Her wrist was faintly painful. Her face was still calm. Because she still has resentment. Baya said softly, if I'm right, Mao Yu should be the woman behind her husband. Angie is not left-handed. She used her left hand to insert the silver needle into her left temple, intending to find some trouble for Mao Yu. She wanted to frame Mao Yu. Why did she leave evidence to prove that she committed suicide? This doesn't make sense. Mu Shaoxing couldn't figure it out. Baya slightly raised the corner of her mouth. She didn't want to frame Mao Yu. She just wanted to find some trouble for her. Angie is kind, sensitive, and loves her husband. It doesn't mean that she has no temper. When she was alive, she swallowed all the bitterness in her heart for the sake of her husband. When she died, she just wanted to be like a child and lose her temper. What you said is correct. The fitness coach said, Mao Yu is indeed the woman behind Angie's husband. Angie's husband bought a villa for Mao Yu. They often lived together. Angie knew it, but she didn't say it. Angie is a good woman. I advised her to divorce. After the divorce, I will marry her. I love her. But she said that if she divorced, what about the face of her family, the Song family and the Gu family? Her husband and her son will become the laughingstock of others. She can't leave. The fitness instructor was agitated. Last month, Angie sprained her ankle. I went to take care of her. That bastard Song Jianren said that Angie had an affair with me and forced her to divorce. Angie and I had never slept together. I was so angry that I exposed the relationship between Song Jianren and Mao Yu. Song Jianren was afraid that the matter would be exposed, so his attitude changed immediately. He took Angie home and took care of her every day, not letting me see her. A few days ago, Angie came to me and gave me this box. From what she said, I felt that something was wrong. I call her, her phone is turned off. I didn't expect her to choose suicide. After hearing this, Baya felt very uncomfortable. It was a heavy feeling. The most heart-wrenching love was not the vigorous and frivolous youth. Instead, I've been with you for decades. I've given birth to your children and experienced the vicissitudes of life. When my beauty is old, my love has also disappeared. All that's left is a candle in the wind. Let's go see Song Jianren, Baya said to Mu Shaoxing. He's a bastard, the fitness instructor said and ran away. Song Jianren didn't ask them to go to the office to look for him. Instead, he asked them to go to a cafe. There were only Baya and Song Jianren in the cafe. Baya put the photo on the table and pushed it in front of Song Jianren. Do you want to know how your wife died? Angie was a good person. She was good to everyone. I can't figure out who would kill her. Song Jianren furrowed his brows. Baya laughed. Her eyes were full of mockery. Her death is a release for you. He knows how she died, but you only want to not get involved in the secret you want to hide. Song Jianren flew into a rage out of humiliation. What nonsense are you talking about? Baya continued. Her death to her was because of love and fulfillment. I just want to ask Mr. Song, in your heart, do you want a romantic and beautiful woman who will give her all for you? Or do you want a woman who knows that she will destroy you but still hurt the woman who loves you without hesitation? A woman. Song Jianren paused. He looked deeply at Baya. Some people have an elegant heart. Some people only have an elegant appearance. People with an elegant heart can see the other person's elegant heart. People without an elegant heart can only see the other person's elegant appearance. Tell me the story of this photo. Baya looked at the photo. Song Jianren looked at the photo and was deep in thought. He didn't want to say it. Do you not believe in Angie's love now, or do you not have the heart to love anyone? Baya asked. Song Jianren looked at Baya. She used to say that if she was angry at me, she would write her thoughts on a piece of paper, put it in a metal box and hide it under this stone table. Bring us there now. Her last words should be in there. It might also be the last words she wanted to tell you. Baya stood up. Song Jianren furrowed his brows. I want to see it first. This is my personal thing. You still don't believe her in the end? Baya's tone was full of disdain. An hour later they took out the metal box that Angie had hidden. Baya held the black umbrella and stood at the side. She watched Song Jianren open the box. There was a letter on the top, and below it was a small metal box that was locked with a lock. There was a note on the small metal box. The handwriting on the note was not beautiful, but it was very neat. It said, "For Brother Ren." The password is set. Baya glanced at the small metal box and looked at Song Jianren with her clear eyes. She still wanted to protect you at the last moment. She should be in heaven now. Song Jianren took the letter out of the envelope with trembling hands. He wanted to make sure that his secret was not exposed. The content of the letter was like this: Brother Ren, I'm sick. I'm very sick. I have to leave first. I can't take care of you anymore. I'm sorry. Thank you for taking care of me. Marrying you is the luckiest thing in my life. Little E, I'm sorry. I have to leave. I miss you the most. I haven't seen you get married and I haven't taken care of your child. But I'm sick. I have to die to be free. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Brother Ren treats me very well. My death has nothing to do with anyone else. I hope that you can be happy. Hurry up and find a wife to take care of you. I'm leaving. If there's a heaven, I will protect you in it. Angie's last words. Baya kept the letter and married a police officer. The people involved in this case were all high-ranking officials. Suicide was the best ending for them. She looked at Song Jianren. That gentle and modest-looking man was looking at the letters in the small box, crying bitterly without a care for his image. Chapter 150. In her textbook there was a passage: a powerful woman keeps a man's money. A kind woman keeps a man's dignity. A smart woman keeps her dignity. Angie was a kind woman, although she despised men like Song Jianren. But, to Angie it is possible, his tears she has been satisfied because she is too kind. A person's happiness was not determined by the amount of money, the strength of one's influence, or the level of one's status, but by one's desire. People who were easily satisfied would be easily happy. People who were not easily satisfied would not be easily happy. Baya's phone rang. She saw it was Lu Shuang, smiled and answered the phone. Little Bai, where are you now? The emergency training is finally over. Gu Lingqing is the king of hell. It was a wrong decision for me to work in the military. I didn't find a boyfriend, but I'm becoming more and more manly. Lu Shuang complained. Baya was amused by Lu Shuang. Let's meet at Water Moon International. I'll go there now and tell you the address when I find a place for dinner. Okay, see you later. Baya put away her phone. The police chief was standing next to her. Thank you, Detective Bai. If it weren't for you, the case wouldn't have been solved so quickly. We thought it would be a cold case. The police chief smiled and complimented. It's nothing. I'm also working in the research institute. You're welcome, Chief, Baya said elegantly. Detective Bai's name is well known internationally. I want to hold a celebration dinner tonight. I wonder if Detective Bai is free? The police chief invited warmly. I've just returned to China today. I still have friends to meet, so I won't be going. Thank you for your kindness. Baya nodded. All right. I'll ask someone to send you there. Sometimes if you refuse too much, you would be forced into a desperate situation. If you agreed appropriately, it would also save the other party's face and let both parties have a friendly relationship. Okay. Baya arrived at Water Moon International first and went into a rather romantic cafe. On the stage, an elegant and beautiful girl in a white dress was playing the piano. The sound of the piano was beautiful. She sent the location to Lu Shuang, chose a private room and sat inside. The door of the private room was curtained, and the people inside could see outside. After a while, Lu Shuang rushed over and sized up Baya. He said happily, "Little Bai, you're so beautiful now. You're much more beautiful than before. I'm falling in love with you." Baya smiled. No matter how beautiful she is, she can't compare to your valiant and heroic bearing right now. This is the true nature of a girl. Ha ha. I like this sentence. Lu Shuang hugged Baya. Tears welled up in Baya's eyes. It had been a long time since he felt this warmth. Little Bai, I miss you so much. Lu Shuang's voice was a little choked. Cool girl, I missed you too, Baya said softly. You don't know how much of a jerk Gu Lingqing is. When he saw me, he didn't even look me in the eye. He and Su Xiaoling love each other, showing off every other day. I really want to give him 2 slaps and make him eat sh*t. He's worse than Su Jiran. Alright, Su Jiran has become better. There's no gossip in the past 3 years, and he often asks me how you're doing now. Lu Shuang nagged. Baya's eyes were still as deep as an ancient pond. No one could tell what she was thinking. The waiter served red wine, steak, foie gras, vegetable salad, and a variety of snacks. Baya swirled the wine glass elegantly. Lu Shuang was hungry. He ate the meat in big mouthfuls and drank a big mouthful of red wine. Is it still possible for you and Su Jiran to be together? I think he wants to turn back. A prodigal son is more valuable than gold. Scars stay in the heart. Time makes the pain fade, but it won't be forgotten. Even if the past is changed, I don't have the desire to see it again. Men are like a textbook. Su Jiran taught me to be sad and angry. I don't have the desire to relive it. Baya said lightly. She took a sip of the red wine. Her long earlobes were shining, full of intellectual light. Lu Shuang looked at Baya with admiration. He held his chin and said casually, Little Bai, you feel so cultured after studying psychology. Baya laughed and poked Lu Shuang's forehead. I feel like this bowl of rice is like walking chicken soup for the soul. Basically, 60% of it is fake. I don't think you're fake. You're overflowing. I'm in the military every day and I feel like my male hormones are overflowing. Baya was amused by Lu Shuang again. They chatted happily and drank a lot of wine. Baya paid the bill. The two of them walked out hand in hand. They looked at each other and smiled. A tall man stood in front of Baya. Baya narrowed her eyes and looked up at him. Su Jiran was very excited. He looked at Baya's slightly drunk and red face with a burning gaze. Shaya, you're back. Ha! Baya smiled honestly. It's better to reminisce than to meet. It's better to forget than to reminisce. Lu Shuang took it naturally and pushed Su Jiran away. Su Jiran did not move. He held Baya's arm. You're all drunk. It's raining heavily outside. It's hard to fight. I'll send you back. Director Su, you have an appointment with Director Zhang from Sky Bearing International, the assistant reminded him. I'll come back later. Su Jiran frowned and pulled Baya's hand. The two girls were no match for her strength. He pulled them to the car. Where are you staying? Su Jiran asked. Baya knew that with Su Jiran's ability, even if she did not tell him, he would know where she was staying the next day. Since she was back in the country, she had to be prepared to face everything. International hotel in a city, Baya said. Su Jiran drove there. Baya called Mu Xiaoxing. My friend and I are drunk. Pick me up at the entrance of my hotel. Who are you calling? Su Jiran's expression did not look very good. Leader. Baya simply said 2 words and closed her eyes. Su Jiran drove to the entrance. Before he got out of the car, Baya got out and opened the door. Mu Shaoxing walked over. Please send my friend to the special forces. She has to go to work tomorrow morning. Baya nodded and glanced at the car. Okay. Mu Shaoxing sat next to Lu Shuang. Baya was still a little worried. She said, don't touch my friend. Otherwise I won't forgive you. Got it. Mu Shaoxing sounded helpless. Baya looked at Su Jiran, who had been staring at her. Her attitude was calm and distant. Thank you. I'll contact you later, Su Jiran said. He did not force her and drove away. Baya stumbled back to her room. When she opened the door, a black shadow rushed over. Before she could react, she was pushed against the wall. Chapter 151. What did he mean by letting him sleep and then run away? This sentence sounded too ambiguous, and it poked at the little secret hidden in her heart. Baya felt uncomfortable and pushed him away, but she couldn't push him away. She explained helplessly, it was your subordinate who said that you haven't slept for a long time. So I didn't disturb your rest and I had something to do here, so I left without waking you up. Gu Lingqing held both sides of her face and made her face him. His deep eyes were burning with anger and even his breath on her face was hot. You have a glib tongue. You just let me sleep. You didn't do anything. I wanted to do something to you. You were sleeping too soundly and I couldn't do anything even if I wanted to. Baya wanted to push his hands away. Not only did she not, but he leaned closer. What do you want to do to me? Baya pressed her hands against his chest and raised her voice. Of course it's to see a doctor. What do you think it is? Gu Lingqing pursed his lips and looked at her with his deep eyes. Her voice was reflected in his dark eyes. He didn't speak, but Baya felt even more guilty as if he could see through her. She lowered her eyes and covered the window of her heart. Look at me. Gu Lingqing said domineeringly. Baya felt that avoiding him was admitting defeat. She didn't admit defeat and with anger she looked straight into Gu Lingqing's eyes. You admitted that we slept together before, right? Gu Lingqing asked sharply. Baya didn't expect him to mention this, and in an instant, all her defenses were destroyed. She couldn't deny it. What are you trying to say? Gu Lingqing's lips curled up, and his eyes were shining with darkness, but they were very sharp and could cut people into pieces. For more than 3 years he often had the same dream. In the dream, a woman with a broken little finger, but her face couldn't be seen clearly. She was in pain and very sad and she kept repeating one sentence. Gu Lingqing, where are you? I miss you so much, can you come back? Gu Lingqing. He had always suspected that the woman in his dream was Baya. From the first time they met, she had been acting strangely. From their ambiguous relationship. From her suicide to running away, to studying abroad with all her might. She might not know this, but he had been to her school many times to see her and observe her. She had a cold personality, did not make friends and did not speak much. Other than the fact that she was eloquent in class and terrifyingly logical when it came to sorting out cases, she was like an autistic person. Perhaps it was because of her that he went to America more often and kept in touch with his cousin's family. That was why he escorted his cousin back to America. Otherwise, with his identity, status, and how busy he was, how could he possibly be the one escorting them? He was now sure that there had been a period between them and that they had sex. He had always been clean and honest. He had never done it with Zhou Hailan or Su Shaoling, but he had done it with her. That meant that he liked her very much. Why did we break up? Gu Lingqing asked directly, scrutinizing her expression. Our personalities are incompatible, our habits are incompatible, our family background is incompatible, and we are incompatible in all aspects, Baya said coldly, using indifference to hide the true feelings in her heart. Our personalities are incompatible too? Gu Lingqing asked with a frown. Baya paused, clenched her fists and hesitated about what to say. If she said that they were incompatible, she would anger him. If she said that they were incompatible, she would encourage him. I don't want to talk about the past anymore. Baya skipped over this question. Gu Lingqing lifted her up easily. His arms were stronger than 3 years ago, like iron pincers. Baya could not break free and Gu Lingqing had already placed her on the bed. He placed his hands on both sides of her body, looked down at her, and controlled her within his sphere of influence. I want to mention that the more detailed description of the details, the better. Baya was anxious. She felt that it was too ambiguous. It made her breathless. I have nothing to do with the chief now. Don't you think this request is too much? Baya refused. What kind of relationship do you want? Gu Lingqing asked confusedly. I don't want any relationship. Baya pushed him. Gu Lingqing held her hand and pressed it on the top of her head. His eyes were not filled with lust but coldness. I want to figure out a few things. First, what is going on with your fingers and my fingers? Second, the reason why we broke up. Third, what we went through before. If you tell me everything, I will naturally let you go. Baya gave up struggling. Yes, why was she struggling? What was she afraid of? If she told him these reasons, he would let go. What he was obsessed with was not the relationship between them, but his blank memory. Now, Gu Lingqing only had Zhou Hailan in his heart. She seemed to have thought too much of herself. However, her heart still hurt. Her eyes were covered with a thin layer of gauze, blocking all her thoughts. Previously, we met because a pregnant woman was kidnapped. Later, you were drugged and had sex with me. You felt sorry for me and felt guilty towards me, so you were very, very good to me. Later, we were caught and both of our pinkies were cut off. Your career was too dangerous, so I proposed to break up. Just as I expected, you had an accident during the anti-terrorism mission and lost your memory, Baya said calmly, staring at Gu Lingqing's expression. Unfortunately, even though she was a master of psychology, she could not see what Gu Lingqing was thinking at this moment. Who drugged me? Gu Lingqing questioned. His tone was cold and decisive like the resolute chief, but definitely not the Gu Lingqing in her memory. I don't know. You have a lot of enemies and you never tell me. I won't ask about these confidential things, Baya said calmly. Who caught us? Gu Lingqing asked immediately. I don't know either. Baya did not know anything anyway. The more she said, the more she did, wasn't it? Gu Lingqing was a little annoyed by her attitude. His pupils shrank. What position do you and I like? She did not want to recall these memories. The reality was too cruel. It would only make the memories become sharp swords, cutting the flesh on her heart bit by bit. Behind. Baya gave a random answer. The time he raped her was behind her, so she did not see his face clearly. Gu Lingqing frowned, his expression blurred. I helped you. He paused. Even a man would find it difficult to say it. Did you have oral sex? No, Baya said without thinking. Gu Lingqing held her chin. You're lying. Baya was embarrassed into anger. He broke her defense. She pushed his hand away and said impulsively, It's been too long. I've long forgotten. He had originally been testing her, but her words had inadvertently given him a positive answer. They really had that kind of relationship. If he did not love her, he would not have done that. She was lying to him. Why was she lying to him? Then relive it. Chapter 152. He was very strong, just as she remembered. Arrogant, domineering, unable to refuse or break free. She was more like a fish on the chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. She didn't want to go back to the past, where every day was hopeless. Baya pursed her lips tightly and didn't let him in. The more she didn't let him in, the more she resisted, the more he wanted to conquer her. Gu Lingqing kissed her more and more passionately, and his big palm went under her skirt. Baya opened her eyes wide in fear. Her lips were blocked by him and she couldn't make a sound. She was not as strong as him, so she couldn't break free at all. He wanted her to fall in love with him again, but what about after that? What about after that? He lost his memory and completely forgot about her. She loved him deeply but could only watch him love another woman deeply. She became the target of public criticism, but he could let go of her so freely. If Su Jiran taught her to be sad and angry, then Gu Lingqing taught her what despair was. Despair to the point that she was still seriously ill. A doctor couldn't cure himself. The saying was true. During the day she could still pretend to be healthy and talk cheerfully. Late at night, facing the dark air and the silence of no one, all her thoughts and emotions returned to the day she cut her wrist 3 years ago. There was only one person alive and no one could warm her cold heart. When she died, she was still alone, lying in the dark world and continuing to enjoy loneliness. She was living like a ghost, looking into other people's lives. However, in her eyes, her life had already ended when she cut her wrist 3 years ago. She just wanted to live a perfect life that others wanted her to live. However, that heart was already broken. Gu Lingqing reached in cruelly. Baya only felt ashamed and angry. She didn't move, looking at him coldly, handsome and cold. Gu Lingqing felt that she was no longer struggling, and looked at Baya with his deep eyes. When he saw her eyes, It was like the surface of a frozen lake, full of transparent coldness. Is the bureau chief going to use force? Of course you have a high position and power. You can have any woman you want. Even if you are strong, I don't have the ability to sue you, right? Baya said coldly. Do you think he's using force? Gu Lingqing asked back. Don't tell me you think I'm enjoying it now? Baya said sarcastically. Then let me enjoy it, Gu Lingqing said domineeringly. He didn't know why he was so crazy about her. In fact, when he saw her on the train 3 years ago, he thought it was crazy to invite her to his place. He had a special feeling for her. He couldn't figure out what this feeling was. Every time he dreamed of the girl saying sadly, Gu Lingqing, come back, he would feel an extreme pain in his heart, so much so that he couldn't sleep. It was so painful that he wanted to cut his heart out. He wanted to find the answer. His parents were preventing him from finding the answers, his friends were preventing him from finding the answers, and even she was preventing him from finding the answers. They were all trying to stop him from finding the answer, but he had to get it. Even if it was self-destruction. Gu Lingqing kissed her. Baya pursed her lips tightly. He sucked on her lips forcefully until they were red and swollen. His fingers were mercilessly possessive. He stared at her every expression, wanting to see her emotions. But there was none. She stared back at him, her eyes filled with unyielding pride and arrogance. She was a woman with a very sharp temper. He held her chin and said with hatred, Didn't you say that even if I use force, you can't do anything to me? Do you want me to be strong or not? I don't want to, Baya said without thinking. Then cooperate well, Gu Lingqing said domineeringly. Baya felt like she was being torn apart by him. For more than 3 years she hadn't had any other man, so she only felt pain. Other than her body, there was also her heart. She didn't want to cry. The mist blurred her eyes and gathered into tears, flowing out from the corners of her eyes. There was no emotion in his eyes, no confusion, only coldness. What did Gu Lingqing, who had no memory experience in the past 3 years, to become so cruel and heartless? Baya went from crying to wailing without any image. If Gu Lingqing hadn't lost his memory, he wouldn't have treated her like this. But there were no ifs in the world. A trace of softness flowed through Gu Lingqing's eyes, instantly merging into the dark color of his eyes. He leaned over and kissed her tears. Her tears were salty. He kissed her, from the corner of her eyes to her cheeks and then to her lips. Even his attacks became gentler, and he let go of her ankles. He let her sit on him and they sat face to face. He looked at her deeply, his eyes dark but not as sharp as before. Baya thought of her wailing and felt a little embarrassed. She wasn't a little girl and it wasn't her first time. Why did she make herself look like a young girl? She turned her face away. What she was sad about was not that she was forced to have sex with him, but that she didn't know where the Gu Lingqing in her heart was now. She couldn't find him when she was alive and she couldn't find him when she died. She just quietly shed tears. Is it a safe period? Gu Lingqing asked in a low voice. Even if she was, she would only say no. Don't get it in there. Okay, Gu Lingqing responded. Baya didn't know when it ended. It was hard to say. On the first day she returned to China, something indescribable happened with him, which was far beyond her expectations. She couldn't go on like this. Gu Lingqing was very fierce during the process and after the process. He probably felt that he had gone too far, so he was gentle when he wiped her tears. Baya was angry at his overbearing attitude, so she didn't want him to wipe her tears. She pushed his hand away and wiped it herself. Did you feel better after that? Gu Lingqing asked. Baya rolled her eyes at him. He knew that she didn't feel good at the beginning. She didn't want to answer his question. Chief, we can go now. I want to take a shower. Is there a connection between you taking a shower and letting me go? Gu Lingqing frowned. Baya threw a pillow at him. Gu Lingqing caught it easily. You have a bad temper. He put the pillow behind her back and glanced at her. His eyes were deep and unfathomable. When he came out at the end, he suddenly felt that she was the one he had been looking for, which made his heart feel a lot more at ease. He was sure that before he lost his memory, he must have loved her very much. What about her? Did she really not like him like what she said in her story? When he thought of this, his heart felt like it was being held tightly by a hand, and he had difficulty breathing. Chapter 153. Baya was so angry that she couldn't speak. His behavior now was like selling her, and after selling her, he still asked her what she was going to do. What could she do? What could she do? Sue him? She could deceive the world, but she couldn't deceive herself. She couldn't bear it. She couldn't bear to see him discredited, upset, and hurt him a little bit. Even if he had forgotten her. Even if there was only Zhou Hailan in his heart now. Baiya felt her face was hot, and then realized that she had cried again. She wiped away her tears handsomely and looked at Gu Lingqing, whose eyes were as dark as ink. His eyes were bottomless and she couldn't see his expression clearly. "Why are you crying?" Gu Lingqing asked and finally frowned. The more Baiya thought about it, the angrier she became. She threw the pillow at him again. He continued to catch it, quietly and calmly put the pillow on the head of the bed again, and squinted at her red eyes. "Forget each other in Jianghu. There are some things that you won't be in danger if you don't touch them. Now Gu Lingqing is like the sun in the sky. You will become the greatest person one day. That's what everyone hopes for," Baiya said lightly. "Everyone, including you?" Gu Lingqing asked in a deep voice. "Of course there was no hatred between you and me before. I once had a boyfriend who became the greatest person in the world. When I become a grandmother, I will brag about it to my grandson with great honor," Baiya said without thinking. Gu Lingqing sat down on the sofa and didn't speak. His quiet eyes were like X-rays examining her. Baiya didn't dare to look at him, nor did she dare to speak again for fear of exposing something. The atmosphere was tense and strange and quiet and strange, like a flood of pressure hitting her heart. After an hour, Gu Lingqing got up. Baiya looked at him nervously. He didn't say anything, gathered his clothes and left her room. Baiya fell on the bed softly. He had left, but his smell still lingered in the room, filling the tip of the nose. Baiya recalled that distant yesterday. There was a mighty and unyielding soldier who used his flesh and blood to protect her, to protect the people he wanted to protect. He was always unafraid of life and death, unafraid of sharpness, fighting on the front lines. He was a person who could give people warmth everywhere. Do not give warmth but fate. What a terrible fate. Baiya was angry. She stood up and smashed the ashtray, table lamp and television in the hotel. Finally, she lost all her strength and sat on the sofa. She lowered her head and her shoulders trembled as she cried bitterly. After crying, she still felt heartache. Being too rational, too clear, and too insightful about life would lead to despair. Her illness could not be cured. Crying, she took out a small white bottle from her bag, poured out a white pill, and threw it into her mouth. She opened the mineral water bottle on the bedside table, ate it, and climbed onto the bed. The medicine that forced her to sleep was not prepared for patients with strong willpower. It was for herself, so she carried it with her. Gradually, Baiya fell asleep. She slept until dawn. When she opened her eyes, she saw the mess in the room. Her illness had acted up again yesterday. Baiya lowered her eyes and called the front desk rationally. "I will be checking out in an hour. There was an accident in the room. It's best to let the room manager come and take a look. I will settle the hotel's losses when I check out." She walked into the bathroom quietly. She brushed her teeth, washed her face, put on makeup, combed her hair, changed into this year's Chanel spring camel trench coat, and carried her LV bag. When she was packing her luggage, the room manager came over and saw the room full of debris. "Did you get robbed? I can call the police." "No need, let me calculate and I will pay according to the price," Baiya said calmly, zipping up her luggage. "Is it still raining outside?" "It's fine," the customer service manager said respectfully. "Okay." Baiya carried her luggage out, pressed the elevator button and went down. "I'm the guest in room 1809. I'm checking out now." Baiya handed the room card and deposit slip to the service desk. She knew that the room manager wanted to register the damaged items in the room, so she took out her phone and sent a message to Mu Xiaoxing. "I will go to the research institute later today. Okay, I have arranged a proposal for you. You can come and see if it is reasonable. If you think it is reasonable, sign it," Mu Xiaoxing replied. "Okay. Miss, the total is 15,600, the cashier said. "Can I pay with Alipay?" Baiya asked. "Yes." When Baiya opened the payment platform, a hand holding a bank card handed over. "Her fee can be paid over here." Baiya looked at the man next to her in surprise. He was tall and strong with fair skin. He wore a suit and black-rimmed glasses, looking mature and steady. However, she did not know him. The man saw Baiya's doubt and said with a smile, "I am someone sent by Mr. Gu." "Which Mr. Gu?" Baiya quickly searched for information in her mind. She did not know many people with the surname Gu. The name Gu Lingqing flashed through her mind. "Gu Lingqing, Mr. Gu," the man answered directly. Baiya did not want others to know about her relationship with Gu Lingqing. She lowered her voice and said, "I don't need him to pay. Miss Bai is a smart person. You also studied psychology. You should know Mr. Gu's temper. If he wants to pay, no one can stop him, Reynolds said with a smile. Baya frowned and turned around. Suspicion flashed in her eyes. She did not want to be entangled, so she chose to check out and change places. What did Gu Lingqing mean? She was confused and walked to the door with her luggage. 4 tall and strong men stood in front of her. Baya turned her head and looked at Reynolds. There was a flame of anger in her eyes. Reynolds, on the other hand, was calm. He took the deposit returned by the waiter and handed it to Baya. Baya pushed his hand away. What do you mean? Miss Baya, get in the car first. You know you have to go. I'm afraid you still don't know Mr. Gu's power. Even if you disappear here, there will be no evidence, Reynolds said with a smile. His words were full of killing intent. This man was a smiling tiger. Baya walked out. The heart in her hand was snatched away by Reynolds's men and put into the trunk. Baya exhaled, adjusted her breathing, and got in the Lincoln Stretch Edition. Gu Lingqing was not in the car. Reynolds sat opposite her and negotiated directly. Mr. Gu likes you very much. He wants you to be the woman behind his back for a year. You can discuss any conditions you have. What? Baya was very shocked. Gu Lingqing actually found someone to ask her to be the woman behind his back. What did the woman behind his back mean? He already had a fiancée. Chapter 154. He really stepped on her bottom line every single time. Baya forced herself to calm down. I'm sorry, I don't lack money and I don't want to sell myself. I have a decent job and I don't want to be someone's woman. Ms. Bai, you know that your friend Lu Shuang is working in the special forces now. Maybe she's a spy or something. It's hard to say, Reynolds said with a smile. There were smile lines in his eyes, but it made people feel cold. What he meant was that if they wanted to kill Lu Shuang, it would be as easy as killing an ant. Moreover, they could also destroy Lu Shuang's entire family. How did Gu Lingqing become like this? He was very different from the Gu Lingqing in her mind. What had he been through in the past 3 years? Baya was too angry. She clenched her fists tightly, and the veins on the back of her hands popped. She was trying to hold it in, and even her gums were trembling. Ms. Bai, don't be angry. Mr. Gu is a good person. At least his private life is clean. He doesn't look for women to solve his physical problems, Reynolds said. What did he mean by not looking for women to solve his physical problems? He meant that he had looked for women to solve his physical problems. That was right. Gu Lingqing was already 33. It was normal for him to look for women to solve his physical problems. But this woman, she didn't want to do that. She would rather not have anything to do with him. As far as I know, Gu Lingqing is running for president now. Aren't you worried that these scandals will spread and he won't have anything? Baya tried to negotiate and looked at Reynolds coldly. Mr. Gu doesn't plan to compete for the presidency this time. It seems like you care about Mr. Gu a lot, Reynolds said meaningfully. He doesn't want to compete? Baya was surprised. He was the most popular candidate. No matter in terms of power, wealth, or support from the people, he would definitely become the president. Forget it. Why did she care about this? It had nothing to do with her. I advise Ms. Bai to get what she wants. You'll only be crushed if you try to hit a rock with an egg. You'll also drag others down with you. However, if you change your way of thinking, you can take the opportunity to get what you want. 1 year is not a long time, but you can save a lifetime of hard work. More importantly, this kind of relationship was secretive and no one could know about it. It wouldn't affect your future marriage and children, so why wouldn't Ms. Bai do it? Besides, Mr. Gu is the most popular man in country A. You won't lose out if you follow him. Who knows, you might even be able to make him fall in love with you and become a first-rank wife in the future. Currently, Mr. Gu has a fiancée, but he has no intention of getting married. You still have a chance, Reynolds negotiated. Baya was not stupid. She knew too well the difference between the strong and the weak. I want to talk to Gu Lingqing, Baya said directly. Reynolds saw that he had already said what he needed to say. After getting out of the car, he dialed a number with a solemn expression. After a while he said, Mr. Gu can talk to you. Let's go now. As the car moved forward, Baya looked out of the window. It seemed that they were going to the blue sky courtyard. She guessed that the place was probably where Gu Lingqing usually rested. After driving for more than an hour, they arrived at the blue sky courtyard. Lieutenant Colonel Song stood at the door and said to Baya expressionlessly, The chief is in a meeting now. He will come over later. He asked you to wait for a while. Baya didn't say anything. She went into the villa and sat on the sofa. Reynolds's men took her luggage down and placed it on the side of the sofa. Baya picked up her phone and browsed through the news. There was an explosion at a chemical plant in Trijiang City last night, and more than 200 people died. It was a huge sensation. Human life was really fragile. The families of those people would be devastated. However, no matter how sad they were, they still had to live. However, in their hearts they would always feel like they had lost a piece of meat. Someone pushed the door open and the light fell on her face. Baya subconsciously looked at the door. Gu Lingqing walked in and handed the windbreaker on his wrist to Lieutenant Colonel Song beside him. Inside was a white shirt and a black suit. He was rigid, meticulous, cold, and abstinent. His face was still expressionless, so deep that no one could guess what he was thinking. He sat opposite her, his body straight and his eyes were sharp. "Reynolds said you wanted to talk to me? I think Mr. Gu can have many women. Why force a woman who is unwilling?" Baya said coldly. "You want to know the reason?" Gu Lingqing's eyes became colder. "First, to be honest, you are not my type, but I dated you before. I feel very curious. I want to know why I liked you at that time. Second, since we have already had sex and we had sex yesterday, there is no need for me to look for other women. Third, I feel that you have a lot of things to hide. Since you are not willing to tell me, I can only slowly find out what you are hiding as we get along. Fourth, yesterday was quite comfortable. To a certain extent, you fit my fantasy of women. It is time for me to have a woman. Is there anything else you want to ask?" Gu Lingqing was simple and direct. It was obviously a very ambiguous and obscure question, but he said it openly and in a businesslike manner. "Haven't you realized that I don't like you?" Baya said cruelly. A cold glint flashed across Gu Lingqing's eyes. It was a coldness that could freeze 3 feet. "Does it have anything to do with me?" He looked at her with a deep and determined gaze. There was no warmth inside at all. Baya looked at Gu Lingqing in surprise. Other than being cold, he was still cold. He was so mean that it made people's hair stand on end. It was as if she had encountered a robber and there was nothing she could do. "I want 100% freedom. You can't restrict my work and life," Baya said helplessly. "If you come with me, you won't have 100% freedom. I called you and I have to come back here. I don't have too much time to waste with you," Gu Lingqing said coldly and stood up. Baya stood up too. "You can't interfere with my life and work. Can you do that? Also, a year is too long. 3 months. Stop pestering me after 3 months." "Stop pestering me?" She was really heartless to him. Gu Lingqing turned around and held Baya's chin. "You don't have the right to negotiate with me." Baya was annoyed. She pushed his hand away and looked at him sharply. "Your so-called right is to stand at a high place and trample on other people's pride, making them obey you unconditionally. What right do you have to do all this? If you force them, they will only resist and you won't be able to win their hearts." Gu Lingqing's cold eyes narrowed and were dyed red. "Your heart, do you think it's worthy for me to win it? I just want to know about the past that you are hiding. I'm not interested in you personally." Baya pursed her lips and didn't say anything. Chapter 155. She understood. Gu Lingqing wanted her to be his woman not because he liked her, not because he loved her, but because he wanted to know about his hidden past from her. He was testing her, examining her, and observing her. Her heart still hurt badly. His parents didn't want him to know about his past because they were afraid that he would mess with her and ruin his future. She didn't want him to know about her past because she didn't want to be a hindrance to him. Their so-called protection had now turned Gu Lingqing into a cold-blooded and heartless person. "I don't want to wash it," Baya said stubbornly. She turned her face away, feeling annoyed and frustrated. Gu Lingqing's long arms hooked her into his arms. "I'll help you wash it." Baya twisted her body, trying to break free. His arms were like iron pincers. His hot breath fell on her cold face. She couldn't break free at all, so she gave up and sighed. "I'll wash it myself. You can choose any room here and live here in the future. I'll come back when I'm free. I'm usually very busy, so I'm only free for 1 or 2 days a month. The rest of the time you'll always be free," Gu Lingqing said in a low voice, looking at her with a burning gaze as if answering her previous request. Baya heard him say that he was only free for 1 or 2 days a month, which was only 24 hours a year. It didn't sound so hard to accept. "I've already told you about my past. We haven't known each other for a long time. You can calculate this. From the time we completed the mission to save the pregnant woman to the time you got into trouble, it was at most half a year. Moreover, we broke up a long time ago," Baya explained. "Whether what you said is true or not, I'll judge for myself." Gu Lingqing didn't believe her. Within a year, don't let others find out about our relationship. In front of others, even if we meet, pretend that we don't know each other, okay? Baya requested. Gu Lingqing looked at her sharply. So many women wanted to have a relationship with him, but she was so repulsed. What? Okay, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. If a tree is strong, it will break. 1 year later, we will all be fine. Baya furrowed her brows and lowered her eyes. Her long eyelashes covered the window of her soul, hiding too many emotions. Go take a shower? Gu Lingqing loosened his hands. He didn't answer the question directly. He turned around and entered the first room without giving Baya a chance to stare at him. Baya carried her luggage and pushed open the door to the second room. The second room was empty, but it was also clean and spotless. There was also a separate bathroom in the room. Baya felt that this room was not bad, so she pulled her luggage and walked in. However, she couldn't live here all the time. It felt like she was being kept. She didn't want to establish an unequal relationship with Gu Lingqing at the beginning. She had her dignity that she needed to maintain. Even if she had no choice but to stay by his side. Baya just took the clothes inside and went into the bathroom. She had just changed her clothes today, so they were clean. The warm water fell from the top of her head and washed away her thick makeup. She closed her eyes. After showering for a long time, she went out of the bathroom, dried her hair, put on her clothes and opened the door. Gu Lingqing sat on the sofa and looked at the news on his phone. He was cold and expressionless. It was hard to tell what he was thinking. However, he wasn't wearing the suit that he had worn when he first came in. Instead, he was wearing a white bathrobe. He was less reserved and had more of a mature man's charm. Feeling Baya's gaze, he looked at her with his clear eyes. He was still deep and indifferent. Did you put on makeup when we first met? No. Baya was simple and straightforward. You look better without makeup. If you had put on makeup, I don't think I would have fallen for you, Gu Lingqing said indifferently. Baya raised the corner of her mouth. If I had known, I would have put on makeup. Gu Lingqing's indifferent eyes flashed with displeasure and he stood up. Baya stood there stiffly. She didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Gu Lingqing walked in front of her, lifted her chin and slowly bent down. His handsome face enlarged in front of her eyes. Baya looked down. She didn't reject or respond. Gu Lingqing didn't kiss her. He looked at her eyes and asked, Did I take the initiative in the past or did you take the initiative? You. Baya looked at him and said. His expression didn't change much. I guessed it was the same. However, to be able to make him take the initiative, he should really like this girl in front of him. She was able to argue her way out under his coercion. He didn't think that she was someone who would give up on him because of danger. What position do you like? Gu Lingqing's voice deepened. Baya blushed. She turned her face away and didn't say anything. Gu Lingqing held her hand. Her hand was very small and his palm could completely contain it. This time you'll be the guide. Tell me, what did we do before? Gu Lingqing looked at her and asked. With her psychological acumen, she knew that his purpose was to recall some memories. However, she couldn't do it. I forgot. Baya directly refused. Gu Lingqing raised the corner of his mouth, but there was no smile in his eyes. Did you do it too much and forget it, or are you worried that I will remember something and forget it? Just because it's been too long and you forgot it. Baya corrected him. Then continued to relive it. Gu Lingqing carried her and walked to his room. He put her on his bed and kissed her lips. Baya felt that his temperature was too high. It was so high that she felt hot, so hot that she couldn't think. She wanted to push him, but to him, her strength was like cotton, soft and soft. When Gu Lingqing was kissing her, he unbuttoned her shirt and covered it with his big palms. He looked at Baya deeply. Baya frowned. She couldn't see any lust in him. He only looked at her and explored. She couldn't get into the mood. She didn't want to. However, after all, she had given birth to a child. The pain was only at the beginning. Soon she could adapt to his presence. She pursed her lips and didn't make a sound. He couldn't see her love and enjoyment. He was a little annoyed and bit her shoulder. Ah. Baya was in pain and let out a soft moan. Gu Lingqing kissed her lips, lifted the tip of her tongue and kissed her forcefully. Baya was almost out of breath from his kiss. She pushed his shoulder. She was already annoyed that he bit her and it was very painful. Gu Lingqing let go of her. His voice was a little hoarse, and there was finally a strange misty and seductive look in his eyes. Baya louder. I like your voice. She didn't let him have his way. She hugged the back of his neck and bit his shoulder. Gu Lingqing was excited. Did they interact like this in the past, biting each other? He seems to like it a lot. Imagining. Chapter 156. Baya saw that he was getting more and more excited. She remembered that she was not in the safe period, so she pressed against his chest. Gu Lingqing's eyes locked onto her pink face, and a warm electric current ran through his spine. He held on to his last bit of rationality and lowered his head to kiss her lips. His muffled groan fell into her mouth. Her breathing was also a little unstable and her eyes were unfocused. Slowly she calmed down. Gu Lingqing raised the corner of his mouth. His smile was very faint. If one did not look closely, they would not be able to see it at all. You say no, but your body is very honest. I'm talking about a woman like you. Baya did not like the way he described her. It was cold and seemed to be ambiguous but more like mockery. She also smiled, but her eyes were indifferent. Have you ever heard of this saying? In the case of a great disparity in strength, it is better to enjoy than to resist. You mean you feel very comfortable? Gu Lingqing asked. Baya followed his words and said, You served me very well. You have a sharp tongue. Gu Lingqing got up. He was in a good mood and walked towards the bathroom. Baya sat up and wiped her body. However, there was still his smell on her body, which made her feel uncomfortable. She went back to her room and took a shower again. The shirt she wore earlier was wrinkled. She changed into a JK dress and came out with her suitcase. Gu Lingqing had also come out. He changed into a dark suit and a purple shirt. He had regained his usual elegance and coldness, as if the wildness just now was just a dream. He glanced at her suitcase and his eyes, which had relaxed because of the relief, became a little colder. You can stay here. It's too far from my workplace. It's not convenient. Baya wanted to negotiate with him. Which villa near your company do you like? I'll buy it again. Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. I don't lack money. Baya refused. Take it even if you don't lack money. Your workplace is in the research institute, right? I'll find a house nearby for you. Gu Lingqing said domineeringly. Baya scrutinized him. He wanted to give her a house because he saw their relationship as one of employment. He used her and he gave her money. There was no fairness in it, not to mention the continuation of their relationship. She wanted to stand on an equal footing, but the world was not something she could do as she pleased. It was the people who stood on a higher level who could do whatever they wanted. Thank you. Baya didn't refuse anymore. His eyes became even colder. At most, he would return everything to him after a year. Gu Lingqing stood up. I'm going to the military now. I'll contact you later. Baya nodded. After Gu Lingqing walked out of the door, she sat on the sofa and looked at the air in silence. The look in her eyes became more and more vague. He rested for an hour, ate lunch outside, and went to the research institute in the afternoon. Mu Xiaoxing's research institute was quite large. It was located in a university and had 4 floors. Mu Xiaoxing was very happy to see her. He greeted her. Did you sleep well last night? So, Baya replied. Hee. Mu Xiaoxing was used to Baya's cold attitude. It was your ex-husband who drove your friend back yesterday, right? He seemed to be very concerned about you and kept asking me about you. Baya didn't want to know about Su Jiran's situation. My friend was safely sent back to the military, right? She should have been safely sent back to the military, Mu Xiaoxing said with a troubled expression. Baya heard something strange. What do you mean by should have been safely sent back to the military? The military doesn't allow cars from the outside to enter, so they could only leave your friend at the gate. I wanted to tell you, but I was worried that you would be asleep and it wouldn't be good to wake you up. I thought that you would definitely come to work this morning, so I wanted to tell you at work, Mu Xiaoxing explained. He explained. Baya immediately called Lu Shuang. Lu Shuang only picked up after 5 rings. Shuangyo, are you okay? Baya asked worriedly. Yeah, I got drunk yesterday. Fortunately, Chief Gu went out for a meeting and came to the military very late. I slept the whole morning, I'm fine. How about you? Lu Shuang asked worriedly. Yeah, I'm already at work. You go ahead with your work. I'll contact you later, Baya said. Don't be late. Let me tell you there's a party in the military tonight. You can bring your family. Come with me, ha. Help me find someone. If I can't get married, I'll become a leftover female warrior. There are too many leftovers. You're the best, Baya said jokingly. Haha, well said. I've been working hard and I've been defeated. But I'm puzzled. I'm not bad looking. Although I'm carefree, I'm approachable. My family and work are not bad. Why don't I have a boyfriend? Depressing. Lu Shuang said helplessly. I'll accompany you tonight. That's all for now. I'll go to work first. Baya hung up the phone, pulled out a chair and sat opposite Mu Xiaoxing. Tell me, what do you want me to do? It's like this. I know our small research institute can't keep a swan like you. You came to help me because you kept your promise. I can't take advantage of you for nothing. You just need to handle 24 cases for me. After 24 cases you'll be free. Take a look at the contract. I'll give you a special contract. Mu Xiaoxing handed the contract to Baya. Baya glanced at it. There was basically no problem. The one-time fee was 1 million. I have 2 questions. Why 24 cases? Baya asked. I feel that 5 years is too much for you. I've only sponsored you for 2 years. So, I'll let you work for me for 2 years. The performance evaluation of the Research Institute is 12 cases a year. So, as long as you complete 24 cases for me you'll be free, Mu Xiaoxing explained. Cancel the fee. I'll sign the contract, Baya said without hesitation. You don't need the fee? Mu Xiaoxing was surprised. You also said that the 24 cases are just to repay you for 2 years of funding. Since it's funding, then why do you have to charge? Mu Xiaoxing, some favors can't be measured with money. When I first looked for you, I was already at my wit's end. You can help me when I was at my wit's end. This feeling is more precious than 1 million. Baya revealed a smile. Although the smile was faint, it was especially beautiful. Mu Xiaoxing's heart beat faster. Okay, I'll let the personnel department draw up a new contract. I hope after 24 cases we can still be friends. I'll help if I can, Baya said readily. Lu Shuang called again. Baya answered. Little Bai, does Gu Lingqing know that you're back? It's so strange. He never talked to me for 3 years. Now he asked someone to call me to his office. What's the matter? I'm so scared. Lu Shuang asked worriedly. Chapter 157. Girl Shuang, he might ask you about our past. Remember, you don't know anything, okay? Baya reminded. No way he's asking about this? Lu Shuang didn't believe it. It's best if he doesn't ask. If he does, just tell him you don't know anything, Baya reminded again. Oh, that's all for now. I'm going to confiscate phones here, Lu Shuang said. He hung up the phone and passed it to Gu Lingqing's orderly. She was brought to Gu Lingqing's office. Gu Lingqing sat in front of his desk, looking at the air and thinking. Sir, Dr. Lu is here, Lieutenant Colonel Song reported. Gu Lingqing came back to her senses. Come in. Lieutenant Colonel Song pushed the door open. Lu Shuang walked in with a confused look and looked at Gu Lingqing in surprise. However, Gu Lingqing was expressionless and her eyes were unfathomable. Lu Shuang couldn't tell what was going on. Sit. Gu Lingqing's simple words were full of pressure. Lu Shuang sat opposite Gu Lingqing. He lowered his head and twisted his fingers. Don't be nervous. I just want to ask you a few questions. How much do you know about me and Baya? Gu Lingqing asked directly. Lu Shuang opened his eyes wide and looked at Gu Lingqing. His eyeballs were rolling. Little Bai had guessed it right. Gu Lingqing was asking about the matter between him and Little White. Lu Shuang raised his eyebrows. I know a little. Why did we break up? Gu Lingqing asked. Baya is very tight-lipped. There are many things that she didn't want to bring trouble to her friends. What I know is that you two used to have a good relationship. You loved Baya very much. Once again Baya went missing for a week. During the week that Baya went missing, you and Su Shaoling got engaged. On the second day of your engagement, Baya was released. She didn't have her little finger and you chopped it off. From then on, Baya became even more eccentric. She even gave up her job and left me to become a prosecutor. I don't know what happened after I left City A. Lu Shuang didn't want to talk about Baya's suicide. Whenever she thought of it, her heart would ache. I love her very much. Gu Lingqing savored these words and narrowed his eyes. Of course you love her. When you and Baya met, Baya was still Su Jiran's wife. You insisted on Baya being with you. Your love has gone beyond ethics, Lu Shuang said with a sigh. When I was with her, she was still Su Jiran's wife? Gu Lingqing was shocked. He shouldn't be such an irrational person. How could he fall for a married woman? There must be some unknown secrets. Yes, I'm sure of that. When you two had sex for the first time, Baya hadn't divorced yet. Actually, it's my fault. Su Jiran got hold of my weakness and threatened Baya not to divorce. Otherwise, you two would have gotten married a long time ago. By the way, there's one more thing you might not know. Baya and Su Jiran weren't husband and wife, Lu Shuang said straightforwardly. She was a little annoyed that she didn't know much about them at that time. Otherwise, she could give an example to show how much Gu Lingqing loved Baiya. Weren't husband and wife? Gu Lingqing looked down to hide the strange emotion in her eyes. Yes, you often came to see Baiya at that time. Baiya lived at my place. Every time, in order to make space for you, I would make an excuse to go out and play mahjong. Then you would stay there for the whole night. You can figure out what you would do in the whole night, Lu Shuang hinted. Gu Lingqing cleared her throat. He could imagine what a man and a woman could do alone in the whole night. What else do you know? Gu Lingqing asked. Originally, the military special recruitment was specially set up for Baiya. I didn't expect Su Shaoling and me to join. Baiya became a prosecutor instead. I don't know anything else. Baiya likes to keep everything in her heart. Chief, why are you asking about this? Lu Shuang asked in confusion. I just want to know something that I don't know, Gu Lingqing said in a deep voice. Oh, Chief, please don't tell Baiya about what I told you. She just told me not to tell you anything and asked me to pretend that I don't know anything, Lu Shuang begged. Gu Lingqing's eyes flashed with fierceness. Pretend that you don't know anything? Lu Shuang saw that Gu Lingqing didn't look good. She was afraid that she would hurt Baiya, so she quickly said, I think Baiya still loves you. She's that kind of person. She wants to save her face. She was the same before. She loved you so much, but she asked me not to tell you. Think about it. If she doesn't love you, why would she be afraid to tell you about the past? She must be hiding something. Gu Lingqing's eyes were dark. She didn't say anything. Lu Shuang asked tentatively, Does Chief still like Xiaobai? After all, you were so in love with each other. You seem to like to ask questions. Gu Lingqing asked calmly, full of dignity. Seeing his attitude, Lu Shuang regretted saying so much. She thought that Gu Lingqing asked her about the past with Baiya because he was interested in Baiya. It didn't seem like it. Lu Shuang looked at Gu Lingqing worriedly. He wouldn't kill Baiya just to erase the past, would he? She had really sinned this time. Chief, don't worry. Xiaobai is a very tactful person. She might really want to let it go. Lu Shuang changed his words. Gu Lingqing looked at her and glanced at the door. You can leave. Okay. Lu Shuang quickly left. Talking to Gu Lingqing made her feel like she was facing a formidable enemy. Gu Lingqing touched his little finger. It turned out that he cut it off because of her. He really loved her in the past. After Lu Shuang went back, she got the news that those who attended the single-parent party tonight could leave 2 hours earlier. She hurried to pick up Baiya. In the car. What did Gu Lingqing ask you? Baiya asked worriedly. Well, he asked about his past. How would I know about his past, right? Lu Shuang said guiltily. His eyes flickered and he didn't dare to look at Baiya. You told him everything, didn't you? Baiya judged. Lu Shuang knew that he couldn't hide it from Baiya. I told him a little. He asked why you broke up. I said I didn't know either. I only said that you used to love each other. Baiya frowned. Cool girl, you shouldn't have said that. It's best if I don't have anything to do with him. I know I'm wrong now. I won't say a word in the future. I promise, I swear if I don't do it, I'll marry the person I hate the most. How about it? Poison me. Lu Shuang begged. Don't say a word wrong in the future. Baiya was helpless. Her phone rang with a text message. She took it out and saw that it was a message from Gu Lingqing. It said, I'm staying at Blue Sky Villa tonight. Let's have dinner together. It was a statement, but it sounded like a command. No one could refuse it. Chapter 158. Lu Shuang noticed the strange expression on Baiya's face and asked worriedly, What's wrong? Baiya put her phone on silent mode and put it in her bag. Nothing, don't worry about it. Okay, help me look for a good candidate. You're an expert in psychology now, so I'll be very relieved with you around, Lu Shuang said happily. She said a lot more, but Baiya didn't hear it. She was deep in thought. Gu Lingqing asked about Lu Shuang's past. Based on her understanding of Lu Shuang and Lu Shuang's reaction, she guessed that Lu Shuang would tell her everything he knew, and he would even add fuel to the fire. She understood that Lu Shuang had good intentions, but Lu Shuang's good intentions often led to the wrong things. She was used to it. She guessed that Gu Lingqing must have invited her for dinner to set up a trap to target the lies she had told before. Thinking about it, she felt very stressed. She might as well not go so that she could have some buffer time. I had my eye on one before. He was a lieutenant colonel in the Special Forces in charge of training Blue Wolf. He was very handsome, valiant, and had a good figure. He came to see me and I fell in love with him at first sight. Later on, he often came to give me gifts and we even went on a date. His father was the captain of a certain branch of the Navy. He was at least a colonel. His mother was the principal of a certain elementary school. His family conditions were very good. I felt that he quite liked me. After dinner we went to a movie. When he sent me back he even kissed my face, but I don't know why. But it ended after that, Lu Shuang said regretfully. Either he's a master of EQ, has high IQ, knowledge and manners, and even if he doesn't like you, he has to maintain the image of a perfect lover. Or there's a reason why he stopped developing with you, Baya analyzed. Lu Shuang frowned. Could it be that his family didn't agree? Baya smiled. There are many reasons. It all depends on whether you want to develop a relationship with him. Of course I do. He's the only one that I've liked in so many years. He has a good body, good looks, a good character, and a good family background. F*ck, I think he just doesn't like me, Lu Shuang said casually. Then find out the reason and solve it. If it's a reason that can be solved, then you can be together. If it's a reason that can't be solved, then just give up. Baya's eyes darkened. He looked out of the window and stopped talking. They didn't go to the military area, as the special forces were not allowed to enter. Instead, they went to a military activity center outside the military area. There was also a club in the activity center. The blind date was organized by the song and dance troupe. There were a lot of people, at least 500. The organizers were very attentive. They had prepared a buffet dinner for everyone to familiarize themselves with. Lu Shuang glanced at them and felt a little disappointed. The one you like didn't come? Baya guessed. Lu Shuang shrugged. Forget it. If he doesn't want to develop a relationship with me because of his family, then it means that he doesn't like me that much. Baya nodded. Obstacles will improve the relationship. When it reaches a certain level, it will become stable. When it reaches a certain level, it will cool down because of the previous obstacles. The cycle will repeat and the other person's good points will become bad points. Relationships are the most fragile. That makes a lot of sense. So, I have to find someone who loves me more than I do. Someone who loves me to death and won't compromise because of age. At most, I'll just grow old proudly. Ah. Lu Shuang laughed loudly. Baya also smiled. You'll definitely find someone. After they finished eating, they went into the hall. When they went in, the staff at the door gave each person a rose. The men sat together and the women sat together. The method of the blind date was very simple. The host would invite the person up. The person who went up would introduce himself. The content of the introduction would include the following. 1. Love history. 2. Family members. 3. Personality and hobbies. 4. Future prospects. 5. Requirements for future partners. Then there would be a talent show. After the performance, the person who felt that he or she liked would give flowers. When there were more people giving flowers, the person who went up could ask questions or ask for the other person's talent show. Then the person who went up could choose the person he or she liked. Baya felt that it was quite interesting. Lu Shuang also signed up enthusiastically. When it was the sixth person, it was Lu Shuang's turn. Lu Shuang went up on stage to introduce herself. My name is Lu Shuang. I'm a doctor, a first lieutenant. Shuang means straightforward. This Shuang just happens to fit my personality. I'm rather straightforward. I'm the only child in my family. My father is a doctor and my mother works in a state-owned enterprise. When it comes to love, if you don't count the 1 week, the crush, and the unsuccessful blind date, then it's really a blank slate. Handsome guys will think that I'm more suitable to be their bro. Actually, I'm really a pure girl. If you don't like it, you can test it. After Lu Shuang said this, the audience burst into laughter. Lu Shuang did not care about the meaning of everyone's laughter. He continued to say, I like singing, I like dancing, and I love China. I hope that I can have at least 2 babies with my future husband. My requirements for my future husband are that he's not a playboy, doesn't fool around, has a strong sense of responsibility, is filial, treats me well, and is handsome. Ah. When he said the last point, Lu Shuang was also embarrassed. Well, she was a girl from the Pure Appearance Association. After Lu Shuang finished speaking, he danced a particularly bold and seductive dance. The host said that those who liked cool girls should come and give them flowers. Baya saw a group of men running up the stage. There were at least 50 of them. Lu Shuang was also shocked. He covered his mouth and laughed happily. She was quite popular. Why didn't she have a boyfriend? At the door a shadow flashed. The cigarette in Shen Yin's hand flickered, and the smoke enchanted his beautiful face. Your Highness, the President asked you to go back. Shen Yin's subordinate lowered his head and said. A sharp light flashed across Shenyan's dark eyes, and he twisted the cigarette. 3 years ago he was still an unruly young man, but now he had become more and more stable, introverted, and domineering. He strode towards the door. A group of subordinates followed him. He looked ahead sharply and ordered, "Watch carefully. Pluck as many peach blossoms as there are. After the election, see how I will deal with her." "Yes." The subordinate lowered his head in fear. Baya's phone vibrated violently. She was also guilty and vaguely afraid. She took out her phone from her bag. Gu Lingqing had called her 3 times, but she did not answer any of them. It was conceivable that Gu Lingqing, who had a hot temper, must be very angry now. She was about to put her phone back when a text message came in. It was from Gu Lingqing. "If you don't call back in 3 minutes, you will bear the consequences." She put her phone back into her bag. Several tall and strong men stood in front of her. Lieutenant Colonel Song walked out and reminded her, "Ms. Bai, the chief is very angry. You should have called back." Chapter 159. F***CKF**CK Gu Lingqing did it on purpose. He knew where she was. What else could he do? He even tested her on purpose. However, she fell into his trap, so she was annoyed. She was like a clown, but he was the one who wanted to see her make a fool of herself. She couldn't escape at all, so she could only follow Lieutenant Colonel Song to the car. Lieutenant Colonel Song drove. "How did Gu Lingqing know I was here?" Baya asked in confusion. "Nowadays phones have GPS. With just a word from the chief, your location will be sent to the chief's phone within a few seconds," Lieutenant Colonel Song explained. "When did you arrive at the hall?" Baya asked. "Not long ago," Lieutenant Colonel Song said simply, "but you didn't pick up the chief's call on purpose." "How can I not report this?" "Just say that I didn't see it," Baya said. Lieutenant Colonel Song was expressionless. According to the chief's principles, not reporting what you know is a big crime. "So, you reported it?" Baya had a bad feeling. "When you put away your phone, I already reported it in real time." Lieutenant Colonel Song didn't hide it. Baya knocked her forehead on the back of the seat. Gu Lingqing must be furious. He must be so furious that he was about to explode. She looked out of the window in annoyance and sighed. She still felt annoyed. Lieutenant Colonel Song looked at Baya and said in a deep voice, "The chief is very busy. I advise you not to make him angry." "I already did. Do you have any good ideas?" Baya asked. Lieutenant Colonel Song was silent for a while. "I've been with the chief for 3 years and this is the first time I've seen him like a woman. He doesn't like me. He wants to know about the past," Baya retorted. "Why can't he know about his past?" Lieutenant Colonel Song's tone became colder. Baya's eyes darkened. He could know about his past, but what if these things didn't help him at all? If her feelings were blank, it would be blank. Even if it wasn't blank, all that was left was pain. The cut on her little finger started to hurt again. She didn't say anything else. She calmed herself down and calmed down, sinking into a boundless desolation. An hour later, Baya was sent to the blue sky courtyard. Gu Lingqing sat on the sofa in a bad mood. He tightened his jaw and puffed on his cigarette. The thick smoke blurred his grave and stern face, making it even more difficult for people to see his expression at this moment. Baya walked in and the door closed behind her with a bang. It was like a blow to her heart. She walked towards Gu Lingqing and sat down opposite him. "Who allowed you to sit?" Gu Lingqing said coldly. Baya frowned and stood up. "Why didn't you pick up the phone?" Gu Lingqing questioned. His eyes were extremely cold. Baya was also annoyed by his domineering attitude. "Why do you think I should accept it? I'm not your subordinate, nor am I your wife. I'm not someone you can order around." Gu Lingqing stood up and Baya stepped back subconsciously. Gu Lingqing held her chin. "Just because you lied to me, I can ask you anything I want." Baya pushed Gu Lingqing's hand away. "Why did I lie to you? The reason why we broke up or the reason why my finger was chopped off? Yes, you loved me very much at that time, but so what? Now that you've forgotten everything, am I not allowed to come out from this shadow?" Gu Lingqing looked at her with his dark eyes, and his chest was heaving up and down violently. "Apart from these, what else? What else do you want to know?" Baya looked straight at him. Gu Lingqing's chin was clenched. She had done something wrong, so where did she get the confidence to be rational and strong? Flames danced in his eyes, burning away all the remaining warmth, and they became dark and cold. "You're not my type. You're arrogant and dark. Too much arrogance is annoying." You don't know how to be tactful and you're not easy to get along with. I'm very surprised. How could I like you like that? Gu Lingqing said sharply. His every word and every sentence was like a sharp knife stabbing into her heart, revealing some truths that she didn't want to admit or believe. Back then Gu Lingqing had provoked her not because he liked her, but because he felt guilty. He was such a responsible person. He felt that it was all his fault for forcing her to live a bad life. So, he wanted to save her and make it up to her, even sacrificing his marriage and happiness. So, when he was hurt, he selectively lost his memory about his past with her. Why did he remember Zhou Hailan and forget her? This was also a portrayal of his heart. He didn't want to cry and he didn't want to get hurt again. But he thought too thoroughly and his heart was too cold. The heat flowed out of his body along with his tears. Maybe you don't like me that much, Gu Lingqing. Let bygones be bygones. You have a bright future ahead of you. Even if you don't get together with Su Shaoling, you can still find a girl you like. Let me go, let yourself go, Baiya said with tears streaming down her face. Her tears made his heart very uncomfortable, as if there was something pulling at him, making his heart ache. He was too angry just now, so he leaned over and kissed her lips. Baiya subconsciously rejected him and turned her face away. A cold light flashed across his eyes, and he pressed the back of her head, intensifying the kiss. Strong, domineering, and not letting her back down. Baiya was instantly annoyed and pushed him hard. 3 years ago he had forced her heart like this, and the result? Despair, suicide. She didn't want to do it again. She didn't want to fall in love with Gu Lingqing again. She slapped his face. The sound of the slap was exceptionally loud. Gu Lingqing stared at her, and the corner of his lips curled up coldly. Like a ferocious beast, he pounced on her and tore her clothes. Ah! Baiya struggled like crazy. Gu Lingqing held her wrist and pressed it on top of her head, while his other hand tore her pants. Baiya didn't like Gu Lingqing. She really didn't like such a cold-blooded person. When he tore her pants, she heard the voice of despair in her heart again. She said angrily, "Do you have to force me to my death?" Gu Lingqing looked down at her with a sharp gaze. Why not? What kind of woman am I in the eyes of the chief? As long as a man comes, will I open my mouth and let you have sex with me? Baiya asked. I thought we had an agreement, Gu Lingqing said coldly. Use your power to force me? Or force me? Baiya said sarcastically. Didn't you say it was comfortable? Gu Lingqing furrowed his brows. Baiya turned her face away. Her mind was in a mess, so much so that she couldn't calm down and think. Gu Lingqing's gaze softened. Don't move. I'll be gentler. Why do you have to do it with me? Baiya asked in confusion. Didn't you say that I'm not your type? Why do you have to hold on to your past mistakes? Because I feel comfortable too. Chapter 160. This reason really made him want to vomit blood. You can find any woman who can make you feel comfortable. Baiya frowned. He didn't like it when she pushed him to others. He couldn't tell why, but there was a flash of light in his eyes. I'm looking for you. He was domineering. She couldn't do anything about it. He kissed her lips and entered her mouth forcefully. His big palm went under the hem of her clothes. Her skin was cold and there was a hint of coldness. Pity flowed in his heart. Was this woman not in good health? So cold. He subconsciously used the warmth of his palm to warm her blood. He wasn't as rough as he was at the beginning. He kissed her lips downwards, undid the button on her back and lifted her clothes. He lowered his head. Baiya let out a soft moan as he kissed her. The temperature of his mouth was very high, but it made her feel very comfortable, as if her blood was flowing and her bodily functions were recovering. She vaguely found a little shadow of the past Gu Lingqing on him at this moment. Her eyes were stained with mist, and there was a little more emotion in them. Gu Lingqing first tested her to make sure that she could do it, then he slowly, Baiya saw that he didn't seem to be using birth control products, so she hurriedly reminded him, I'm not in my safe period. Gu Lingqing responded with a deep voice and looked at her with his deep eyes. Baiya wasn't unrestrained. On the contrary, she was very shy and even her breathing was suppressed and light. But when she opened her mouth, frowned and looked like ripples, he felt that she was very beautiful. He wanted to see the changes in her expression under different rhythms, so he sat on the sofa. Her gaze was too focused, as if she wanted to absorb him into her eyes. Baiya was too embarrassed to look at him. She lay on his shoulder and her breath fell on his ear. His heart moved and he held her chin with his thumb and forefinger, making her face him. Her gaze was very unfocused, as if shrouded in a mysterious veil. Her face was red and she was charming. We used to be like this, right? Gu Lingqing asked in a hoarse voice. Baiya didn't want to be completely controlled by him, so she held his chin and kissed his lips. His lips were also very hot, like the sun, emitting hot blood. In the past, in order to keep warm, she kept getting closer and closer until she was reborn. This time she could not be greedy. After a while, Baiya let go. However, Gu Lingqing was not satisfied. He pressed the back of her neck and continued to kiss her. He kissed her until he couldn't control his rationality anymore. He turned the tables and wanted her violently. He went to the bathroom to take a shower while Baiya rested on the sofa. However, she felt that it was too insecure every time he came out. What if there was another Xiao Bao's treasure? She couldn't afford any more mistakes in her life. She has to go to the hospital tomorrow to get in for. Her phone rang. It was Lu Shuang. She picked it up when she got up and went to her room to take a shower. Little White, where are you? I went backstage to cultivate my relationship with the boyfriend I just met. When I came out, you weren't there. Lu Shuang looked around and said, I have something to do, so I have to go now. Did your blind date go well? Baiya filled the bathtub with hot water. Not bad, I picked one for me and I think he's not bad. I got to know him a little, so let's talk about dating in the future. I'll bring him out tomorrow and you can give me some advice, Lu Shuang said in a good mood. I'll take a shower first. I'll contact you tomorrow. Baiya hung up the phone and lay in the bathtub. The warm water flowed through her body, relieving the pain in her muscles. She was a little sleepy and closed her eyes. In a daze, she heard Gu Lingqing's voice. Did you fall asleep in the bathtub out of habit? Baiya opened her eyes and didn't answer him. Gu Lingqing passed the towel to her. You have a cold body and it's not good for your body to soak in cold water for a long time. You're still young and can't feel it, but when you get older you'll be full of illnesses. Weren't you a doctor? Don't you know this? Baiya took the towel from his hand and wrapped it around her body. She got out of the bathtub and replied, You know a lot about women. It's basic knowledge. My mother pays attention to her health, so I know a thing or two. Gu Lingqing added the last two sentences. He didn't know why, but he didn't want her to misunderstand his relationship with other women. Baiya's heart skipped a beat. There was a ripple in her heart. She cleared her throat and deliberately ignored him. She changed the topic and asked, Have you eaten yet? What do you think? Gu Lingqing asked back. His eyes were dark and it was obvious that he was suppressing his anger. Baiya didn't expect that he had been waiting for her. I'll heat it up for you. Someone's hot. You can just accompany me to eat. Gu Lingqing walked towards her. I've already eaten. Baiya rejected him. He hugged her waist and looked down at her. If I ask you to accompany me, then accompany me. It can be a midnight snack after you've eaten. You're too skinny. You don't have any meat at all. Didn't you say that I feel comfortable? Baiya threw out his words to deliberately block him. I said that I feel comfortable in my heart, Gu Lingqing replied casually. After saying that, he paused for a moment. Feeling comfortable in his heart meant that he was treating her with his heart and not his kidneys. Baiya could tell that too. She was a little flustered. She felt that his hand on her waist was abnormally hot. She took his hand away. I'm going to change. Gu Lingqing didn't go out. Baiya took the clothes and looked at him. What are you looking at? Go change, Gu Lingqing said in a deep voice. Baiya nodded and glanced at the door. You go out. Gu Lingqing crossed his arms in front of his chest and leaned against the door frame. His eyes were dark, and because his expression was serious, his words were also serious. Which part of your body haven't I seen or touched? Tell me and I'll fill them all in. Baiya was angry, but she laughed instead. When did General become a rascal? Baiya was speechless. She turned her back to him and untied the towel. Gu Lingqing walked behind her and brushed her hair to the right side of her face. The hair brushed past her back and fell softly on her shoulder. It was a little ticklish. Baiya looked up at him. He looked at her with a deep gaze and asked very seriously, Have I never been a rascal to you in the past? Baiya didn't dare to recall the past. She retracted her gaze and neatly put on the clothes inside. The present is so beautiful and the future is even better. Don't always be trapped in the past. There are some things that others can't forget even if they want to. General is very lucky. She kept calling him General, which made him feel uncomfortable. Change the way you address me. What did you call me in the past? Brother Qing? Baiya felt that the current Gu Lingqing was quite self-righteous. Gu Lingqing. He was not satisfied with this form of address. Call me by my full name? Call me Brother Qing. Call me Brother Qing and you'll have meat to eat. Gu Lingqing lifted her chin and made her face him. Call me that. Baya was thin-skinned. She pushed his hand away. I don't like to eat meat. Chapter 161. Baya felt that Gu Lingqing had changed a lot. He wasn't so straightforward in the past. After all, he was a mature person. He had a strong understanding ability and it was easy for his thoughts to go astray. Some jokes could add fuel to the fire and make the other person blush. There was a kind of love flowing between the two of them. Baya was a little embarrassed. She pretended not to understand. Didn't you say we're going to eat? Let's go. She changed her clothes quickly and walked out of the room. She didn't notice the slight smile on Gu Lingqing's face. He seemed to be in a good mood. Baya had just sat at the dining table when Gu Lingqing's phone rang. He picked up the call and his expression changed. I know, I'm coming over now. What's wrong? Baya sensed that something was wrong. Something happened in the military. I have to rush back now, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. He picked up his coat from the hanger. Baya looked at the dishes on the table. Aren't you going to eat dinner? It's too late. You have my phone number. Call me if you need anything, Gu Lingqing said simply and turned to leave. Lieutenant Colonel Song opened the door and Gu Lingqing strode out. Baya followed him to the door. The soldiers stood by the door respectfully. Gu Lingqing leaned forward and entered the car with a serious expression. She only saw his sturdy car and then his car sped away. She guessed that something had happened to Gu Lingqing in the military. He had never told her about his affairs. She had no right to ask in the past. Now she had no right to ask. However, Gu Lingqing was a good soldier. He was righteous. He didn't even eat dinner because of the military matters. Baya turned around. Once Gu Lingqing left, she was the only one left in the spacious villa. It was empty. She was too afraid of such loneliness. Before she had any emotional problems, she quickly took her medicine and lay on the bed. She spent the night until dawn. She opened her eyes. She was still alive. He got out of bed, brushed his teeth, washed his face and changed into bright clothes. Then he took a taxi to the hospital. When she was in the taxi, she thought that she should buy a car so that it would be more convenient for her to go anywhere. When she arrived at the hospital, she registered for the gynecology department. After registering, she waited patiently in the waiting area. A woman came out of the gynecologist's office. She looked terrible. Although they had not met for more than 3 years, Baya recognized that the woman was Su Shaoling at a glance. If she remembered correctly, Su Shaoling should be working in the military now. She was also a doctor. Why did she come here? Did she get sick? Baya walked into the gynecology department. She knew the gynecologist, who was her former colleague. Sister Ing. When Sister Ing saw Baya, she was very happy. After all, they had a good relationship in the past. Baya, why are you back? Baya bit the document in her hand. I came to get a ring. I came to see who was on duty. Hee. Oh, I'll write a list for you first so that you don't have to wait. I heard that you became a prosecutor later. Why are you so courageous? You gave up being a deputy director and became a prosecutor who is not a professional at all. In the hospital, you are the only one I admire, Sister Ing said with a smile and wrote the list. She wrote the document and passed it to Baya. I didn't become a prosecutor after that. I only did it for half a year before I went abroad to further my studies. I'm a psychologist now and I'm currently working in a research institute. Maybe I'll open a clinic later. Baya exchanged simple pleasantries and took the document from Sister Ing. I really admire you. Now you're a psychologist. It's the most popular profession now. You earn a lot and it's easy. We're working hard in the hospital now. We often have to work overtime and we have to get complaints often. It's really stressful. Not long ago there was an incident of a doctor being hacked at the secondary hospital. I even know that doctor. I'm so depressed. I'm about to enter menopause, Sister Ing complained. Sister Ing, you're so beautiful and kind-hearted. If you enter menopause, how are we going to live? Baya said with a smile. All right, don't comfort an old woman like me. I still have some work to do. When we're free, let's have a gathering. Yeah, it's my treat. Oh yeah, Sister Ing, what happened to that girl just now? She didn't look too good, Baya probed. She's having a messy private life. Other than common gynecological diseases, she also has syphilis. It's already in the 2nd stage. It's quite serious, Sister Ing said. Baya frowned and her face turned pale. Su Shaoling was Gu Lingqing's fiancée and she had a relationship with Gu Lingqing. She had a bad feeling. Sister Ing, give me another document. I'll check it too. What's wrong? Sister Ing widened her eyes and looked at Baya. Baya smiled. There's nothing wrong with checking more. An hour and a half later, Baya put on the birth control ring and got all the reports. She was normal and healthy. In the future, it would be safer to be with Gu Lingqing so that she wouldn't be infected. Was Gu Lingqing infected now? Or did Gu Lingqing infect Su Xiaoling? No, Gu Lingqing had always been clean. If he only had Su Xiaoling, he wouldn't have gotten this disease. Could it be that Gu Lingqing had other women? Or Su Xiaoling had another man? Baya called back to the research institute in a daze. The more she thought about it, the more scared she was. Gu Lingqing liked to force himself on her, but he didn't like to wear it. She wanted to refuse, but she couldn't resist. For safety's sake, she sent a message to Gu Lingqing to remind him. Remember to wear it no matter what, or you'll get sick. Gu Lingqing replied very quickly. Are you sick? Baya was furious when she saw this. You're the one who's sick. I suggest you get it checked first. Just as she sent the message, Gu Lingqing called. What do you mean? His voice was sinister and he showed off his bad temper. It was as if he would kill her if she said anything wrong. Well, I just came out of the hospital. The tests are all good, Baya said. That's good. Gu Lingqing complimented her out of the blue. Baya was a little uneasy. It was as if she was asking for praise. I've seen a lot of women suffering from various diseases. People nowadays are easily impetuous and tempted by too many temptations. It's better to be careful when you're in a high position, Baya said tactfully. Gu Lingqing heard the hint in her words. He was in a good mood a second ago, but the next second, anger filled his eyes. As long as you're not sick, I won't be sick. That's all. He hung up the phone coldly. As long as she wasn't sick, he wouldn't be sick. Was he provoking her, cursing her, or? Baya's heart raced. Was he hinting that she was his only woman? Chapter 162. At the entrance of the research institute, Baya was still deep in thought. If Gu Lingqing only had one woman, why did Su Xiaoling get a gynecological disease and even contract syphilis? Did she have another man? Pretty lady, you're here, the driver shouted. Baya came back to her senses and said, Oh. She glanced at the meter, paid the fare and got out of the car. What kind of nonsense was she thinking? Even if Su Xiaoling had another man, what did it have to do with her? However, 3 years had really changed a lot of people. Things remained the same, but people had changed. Baya walked into the research institute and saw Mu Xiaoxing throwing a tantrum. How did you guys graduate? When there's nothing going on, you guys brag like gods, but when there's trouble, no one dares to accept it. Didn't our research institute have an authoritative figure in the industry? This matter can only be handled by an authoritative figure, someone said. Why do I need you guys to handle everything? Why don't you guys go back and eat yourselves? Mu Xiaoxing said angrily. Baya walked to the door of the conference room and knocked gracefully. Mu Xiaoxing looked at Baya with a troubled expression. He wanted to say something but stopped. Baya smiled and said, Say it, I'll take it. Mu Xiaoxing seemed to be holding on to a life-saving straw. At this time, only you can save me from this crisis. Come to my office. Mu Xiaoxing walked out of the conference room and returned to his office. He threw some photos to Baya. Baya saw that it was a European-style castle, a miniature version. It was built with bricks that were no longer used. The castle was surrounded by creepers. Because of the age, the plants grew wildly, making the castle look a little strange. In the second photo, a tall man died in the room. His body was curled up, his fingers were clenched very tightly, and his expression was twisted with pain. This man is Xiong Jinping, the younger brother of Xiong Daini. He is now the mayor of Pingyan City. He died in this castle. He was killed in a secret room. There were no wounds on his body. After the autopsy, we found that his brain was congested. He died of fear. There were no toxins in his body. Mu Xiaoxing explained. Baya looked at the third photo. It was also a man who had died in a room. He was lying on the ground, clutching his own neck. His eyes were bloodshot and his death was horrifying. This person's name is Xiong Jiqing, Lieutenant Colonel, an instructor in the Special Military Region. It looks like he strangled himself, but in fact he died of fear. Both of them died yesterday. Now the higher-ups want a verdict within a week. My research institute has no choice but to accept it, Mu Xiaoxing said helplessly. Baya understood. The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. The higher the reputation, the more important face is. Bearing the glory comes with pressure. Your research institute is one of the top in the country. It should be able to bear the pressure. Don't be sarcastic. I'll leave this matter to you. I'll pay all the expenses for the business trip. You can stay in the presidential suite as you like. I'll give you a subsidy of 1,000 yuan a day for your hard work. As long as you can solve the case, I'll definitely pay for it. Mu Shaoxing said kindly. Am I going with the people from the police station now? Baya asked. The police station is taking this very seriously. They've hired an expert with a high salary. His name is Leng Qiuzuan. His nickname is the Lord. He'll bring an assistant with him. In addition, there will be 2 police officers accompanying him. There will be a total of 5 of you. The Lord will be the team leader. Leng Qiuzuan? I've heard of him. He's very famous. He's low-key. Other than solving cases, he's almost isolated from the outside world. It's great to have the opportunity to meet the legendary god, Baya said with a smile. Maybe you're a goddess in his heart. Your international reputation is no less than his, Mu Shaoxing complimented. Baya didn't say anything else. She went back to pack her luggage and went to the police station. She didn't tell Gu Lingqing that she was going on a business trip. When a general is outside, he doesn't obey military orders. However, she had to inform Lu Shuang. Girl, I'm going on a business trip. We can't meet for the time being. Ah, you're so busy with work. You have to go on a business trip as soon as you come back. That Mu Shaoxing is too harsh, Lu Shuang complained. It's good that the mission is completed. I'll contact you when I come back, Baya said apologetically. Well, by the way, I want to tell you something. Something happened in our military region last night. An officer was killed. At the same time, another officer died in the faraway Pingyan city. The key is that the one who died in Pingyan city didn't have a vacation. He went out without permission, disobeying the emperor's order. The chief is very angry. After all, murder in the special military region is not a trivial matter. It means that there's a problem with the security system. If a spy sneaks in, it's not a trivial matter. Anyway, it's a very serious matter. It even happened when the chief is electing the president. Now this news is temporarily blocked. These few days I have to behave with my tail between my legs. I can't talk to you anymore. I have to do something first. Lu Shuang hung up the phone. Baya put away her phone. No wonder Gu Lingqing left with a serious expression last night. Could Xiong Jiqing's death be related to the person who died in the military region? If she could find out, it could be considered as indirectly helping Gu Lingqing. She went back to pack her luggage and went to the police station. Leng Qiuzuan was already in the car. She was the last one to arrive. Baya got on the police bus and saw the legendary Leng Qiuzuan. He looked about 35 years old. He was wearing a black trench coat. He was tall and thin and wore a hat. He had a triangular face and a sharp single eyelid. He looked very fierce. There was a needless sharpness in his eyes. When he looked at people, he was full of lethality. He was a handsome man. He was not easy to get along with. This was Baya's judgment. Therefore, she didn't take the initiative to greet him and sat in her seat. Baya. Leng Qiuzuan called her first. His voice was especially deep and it was very recognizable. Baya glanced at Leng Qiuzuan and the corners of her lips curled up slightly. Mr. Leng just came from the airport. He was in a hurry when he left and was hit by a little girl who was drinking milk tea. The little girl's mother was very angry. She thought that you were a strange uncle and even said that she would bring you to the police station. When you got angry, you brought the mother and the little girl to the police station together. Leng Qiuzuan pursed his lips and didn't say a word. He fixed his gaze on Baya, his eyes shining with a gloomy light. Leng Qiuzuan's assistant was very surprised. How did you know? I saw the label on Mr. Leng's luggage when I was putting it in. The flight to City A at 11 a.m. It's only 12:30 a.m. now. It'll take an hour to get here from the airport. This means that you were in a hurry. As a result, there are some milk stains on your clothes. At this height, it should be a little girl. When I came here, a middle-aged woman was walking away with a little girl. She was cursing and saying that he was a pervert. He didn't have to rush for a flight. I got in the car and saw that there was still hostility in Mr. Leng's eyes, Baya explained. Are you deliberately showing off? Leng Qiuzuan said bluntly. Baya wasn't angry at all. When you called me, there was doubt in your eyes. You wanted to know what I'm capable of. I'm just following your wishes, aren't I? Leng Qiuzuan didn't say anything. Baya's phone rang. She saw that it was a text message from Gu Lingqing. He said concisely, GXXX, getting coach 12? I'm here. Chapter 163. GXXX, get into coach 12, I'm here. While they were in the car, Baya kept thinking about this sentence in her mind. Did Gu Lingqing know that she was going to Pinyin City? Ms. Bai. Leng Qiuzuan's assistant nudged Baya. Baya came back to her senses and looked at her assistant. What's wrong? My husband wants to talk to you, Leng Qiuzuan's assistant reminded him. Baya then looked at Leng Qiuzuan. Leng Qiuzuan was in a very bad mood. He pulled a long face, his eyes were cold and his anger was wanton. He said sarcastically, "You are more arrogant than the rumors say." "I'll meditate when I'm thinking about something," Baya explained. Whether the other party believed her or not, it was none of her business. Leng Qiuzuan turned his face away as if he did not want to talk to him anymore. Who was the arrogant one? Leng Qiuzuan's assistant smiled awkwardly and said, "My husband said that Xiong Jiqing and Xiong Jinping have never been to Pinyin City. On the surface they don't seem to know each other, and they don't exchange letters on the internet. The only thing they have in common is that they both went to bed together." People website. What do you think of this? I don't know for the time being. I've just come into contact with this case, Baya said and lowered his eyes. Because it involved the special forces, she didn't want to make any rash comments to avoid unnecessary trouble. You don't deserve your reputation, Leng Qiuzuan said contemptuously with the corner of his mouth curling upwards in a sarcastic manner. Baya glanced at Leng Qiuzuan. He didn't even look at her. Baya smiled faintly. According to psychology, people who are quick with their words are usually hiding their inferiority complex or guilty conscience. Which one is Mr. Leng? Leng Qiuzuan looked at Baya darkly. His pupils were constricted, making him look extremely sharp. Do you think I'll feel inferior or guilty? From the moment I got on the car, you wanted to know what I was capable of enjoying such a great reputation. You always looked at me with a judgmental and provocative gaze. From another perspective, you were worried that I would perform better than you, so you tested me and tested me again. This is not an expression of guilt. Do you want to see it now? Baya said casually. Nonsense, ignorant junior, Leng Qiuzuan said coldly. Mr. Leng is indeed talented. You have clear rules and excellent analysis. Although you don't show your face often, you have enjoyed the praise of the world. However, you are too greedy for praise. It reminds me of the famous general in history, Bai Qi. Baya said with a smile. Bai Qi? Looks like you've done a lot of research on me. I won't argue with you. He closed his eyes and said no more. Baya had never studied him at all, so he couldn't be bothered to argue with him. She only took on this case to repay his kindness. After driving for half an hour, they arrived at the South Railway Station. The station master sent them their tickets. They were all GXXX. They had priority to enter the station. Baya glanced at the coach on the ticket. It was coach number 6. She didn't want others to know about her relationship with Gu Lingqing, so she followed everyone to coach number 6. Coach number 6 was a first-class seat. She had just sat down when her phone rang. She saw that it was still a message from Gu Lingqing, so she opened it. Do you want me to send someone to invite you? Gu Lingqing's tone was overbearing and domineering. Baya replied helplessly, I just got on the train, so I came over after a while. She kept her phone and asked the train attendant, how long does it take to get to Pinyin from here? 6 hours and 20 minutes. We'll arrive at around 21:30, the attendant said with a smile. Baya nodded. She picked up her bag and walked towards the coach at the back. Where are you going? Leng Qiuzuan asked. I have something to do. I'll come at 2100 hours, Baya said simply. Leng Qiuzuan snorted. She arrived at coach number 12. There were 4 soldiers outside the door of coach number 12. They seemed to know her as they knocked on the door. Come in, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. The soldiers pushed the door open and Baya walked in. Gu Lingqing was browsing on the computer, very focused. His brows were slightly furrowed and he looked especially cold. You're going to Pinyin too? Baya asked first. Gu Lingqing threw the information in his hand to her, but his eyes were still on the computer. Baya sat on the sofa and looked at the information that Gu Lingqing threw to her. It was Xiong Jiqing's information and Xiong Chang'an's information, as well as all the previous interactions between the two of them. Baya read all of them. The last page showed that both of them had logged onto the same adult website when she was on vacation. Xiong Jinping also logged onto the same adult website. Baya found the common characteristic of the 3 of them and looked at Gu Lingqing. He looked at her coldly and questioned, You didn't want to tell me when you went to Pinyin City for a business trip, did you? Baya didn't expect him to bring up the past at this time. I didn't have time to tell you, did I? You sent me a message. Really? Gu Lingqing didn't believe her at all. He smiled slightly. There was more than an hour between the time you confirmed that you were going to Pingyuan and the time I sent you a message. You didn't even have time to send me a message? Baiya knew that she couldn't hide it from Gu Lingqing. She looked down. Are you that busy with work? If you're that busy, you still have time to send me a message to see a doctor? Gu Lingqing exposed her lie without leaving any room for negotiation. Baiya realized that Gu Lingqing was simply a logic freak. This is my job. I don't have to report to you one by one. You didn't tell me about your work either, did you? Gu Lingqing stood up. Baiya instinctively stood up as well. He walked towards her. Suddenly Baiya felt the pressure increase. He put his arm around her waist and pulled her in front of him. You know very well whether it's about work or whether you're avoiding me on purpose. However, I can tell you very clearly that as long as I don't let go of you, there's no way you can avoid me. This trip to Pingyuan is meant to be a gift to you. This trip to Pingyuan is to give you a heads up. You're going to Pingyuan because of me? Baiya was surprised. Her heart was beating extremely fast. You don't know how to do things, but you think too much. Xiong Jiqing and Xiong Chang'an are both members of my special forces. This is not a trivial matter. I must get to the bottom of it, Gu Lingqing said expressionlessly. His eyes were dark and without any color. You don't need to personally deal with this case, do you? Baiya said in a low voice. It's good that you know. Gu Lingqing's meaningful words made Baiya's heart, which had just calmed down a little, jump wildly again. Could it be that he knew that she was going to Pingyuan, so he also came to Pingyuan? Come to work. Gu Lingqing didn't give her time to let her imagination run wild. He hugged her and sat down in front of his computer. Baiya looked at the computer. Gu Lingqing entered the website. An adult website appeared in front of her. Chapter 164. Baiya felt uneasy and didn't look at the screen. Don't you think it's better for your subordinates to do this job? They've already done it. They didn't find anything, Gu Lingqing said coldly. I might not have found anything. Baiya resisted. It wasn't that she hadn't seen it before. Lu Shuang wanted it on his computer. It was just that she didn't want to watch it with him. You'll know if you found anything after you watch it, Gu Lingqing said. Gu Lingqing said. He clicked on one of the videos and looked at the screen seriously. In this video, all three of them have seen it before. You've seen it? Baiya asked. There was a strange feeling in her heart. Gu Lingqing was expressionless. Not yet. But prepare to watch it now. Don't be distracted. Look at the screen. Baiya. His words made it seem like she wasn't pure. Baiya looked at the screen. A woman and two men in the wilderness. It was high definition and uncensored. Baiya knew that it was work, but she was too embarrassed to watch it with him. She picked up the mineral water bottle on the table, opened it and drank 2 mouthfuls. Gu Lingqing glanced at her without batting an eyelid. Haven't you and I watched this kind of video before? You never watched this kind of video before, Baiya said. Was I that boring in the past? Gu Lingqing asked. Baiya, more or less, she said perfunctorily. How many times a week did we do it before? Gu Lingqing's topic was getting deeper and deeper. Baiya gulped down a few mouthfuls of water. I don't remember. She felt that the words I don't remember were too perfunctory. She added, we didn't have many chances to meet in the past. You were very busy with work, so we couldn't count it in weeks. You have a lot of complaints against me? Gu Lingqing guessed. His words made it seem like she really wanted it. Baiya didn't want to continue this topic. Chief, don't you need to work anymore? Gu Lingqing looks at her deeply as if he has confirmed the answer. That gaze made Baiya feel uncomfortable. She looked at the computer screen and suddenly saw some problems, so she paused the screen. She paused the entire scene of the man and woman together. Baiya deliberately ignored them. Did you find anything? Gu Lingqing asked. Baiya took out the photos from her bag and compared them. The title of this video is The Wilderness, but it's not the wilderness at all. It's inside the castle. It's just that because of the black background we thought it was nighttime. Baiya drew out a part of the black color and vaguely saw the analysis between the black bricks. That vaguely. It's on the photo, it's on the screen. You mean they all saw this video and then they all saw the castle, so they all went to the castle? Gu Lingqing frowned. Baiya didn't say anything. She played the video to the end. The woman was eating her fingers and said in a very sweet voice, Will you come and find me? I will always wait for you in this place. I remember your information said that they only read it when they were on vacation. Could it be that they drove to the castle and something unexpected happened? I think this woman is a clue. You'd better find out who she is immediately and get someone to investigate it. Baya suggested. Gu Lingqing made a call. Help me find someone. I'll send you the photo. Through facial recognition you should be able to find out who it is, right? Baya watched as Gu Lingqing sent the face to the mailbox after asking the question. There are a few others. They watched the videos together. You can watch them too, Gu Lingqing said and clicked on the next video. Gu Lingqing, don't you think that your subordinates are a little? Baya looked at Gu Lingqing with difficulty. It's a man's nature. It's not training time. It's inevitable when you're on vacation. It's abnormal if you don't watch it, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. Baya looked at him strangely. Did he mean he watched it too? She felt cramped. Gu Lingqing suddenly closed the computer. Baya didn't understand. What's wrong? She turned her head to look at him. Her heart skipped a beat when she met his lustful eyes. She quickly stood up. But it was too late. Gu Lingqing held her waist and brought her to the side of the bed. Baya felt hot. She tried to pry open his fingers. We're on the train now. My soldiers are guarding outside. Not even a fly can fly in. What are you afraid of? Aren't you blaming me for being too busy with work and not having time for a week? Gu Lingqing said. His voice was hoarse right beside her ear. How am I blaming you for not having time for a week? Chief, you've misunderstood. Baya wanted to get up. Gu Lingqing pressed her down on the bed and looked down at her. With our relationship, do you think I won't be angry if you keep calling me chief? You don't have to be angry over such a small matter. The Prime Minister has a big belly. You should be more tolerant than the Prime Minister. Baya flattered him and pushed his shoulders. Gu Lingqing held her hand and pressed it against the side of her face. I won't be angry with you if you call me chief, but if you keep rejecting me I will. Baya's heart trembled. There was a strange palpitation in her heart. He was too straightforward. Being straightforward, she didn't have any room to refuse. He lowered his head and kissed her lips. Baya didn't want to, but she also knew that if she resisted, Gu Lingqing would be ruthless and hurt her. He didn't go through a long process before he took her. She shouldn't have been prepared, but her reaction afterwards made her feel ashamed. She wanted more but was too embarrassed to say it. She looked at him with a layer of desire. That kind of Baya was real and beautiful. Gu Lingqing kissed her lips fiercely. If you reject me again I won't let you come. His tone was fierce but his actions were very doting. He went out to rest for a while and controlled his urges. When she climbed to the top he would really care about her feelings. After that, Baya was sweating all over. Can I take a shower here? There's no hot water but there's cold water. It's not good to take a cold shower. I'll get someone to boil some water and send it over later, Gu Lingqing said. Baya was embarrassed. That way they will all know. You shouted so loudly. Do you think they won't know? No flies can fly in here but it's not soundproof, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. Baya felt that she had lost face in the Huangpu River. She lay on the bed, turned her back to him and pretended to be dead. Gu Lingqing glanced at her. There was a sense of pity in his eyes as he sat by the bed. Baya ignored him and picked at her nails. The people who came are all my confidants. Even if they die they won't say a word. Don't worry, Gu Lingqing comforted her. I don't think you should force yourself. Baya negotiated. Chapter 165. Baya was speechless at his words. Gu Lingqing asked his men to bring a big basin and 5 bottles of hot water. Baya had to take a shower. She felt uncomfortable. She went into the washroom and came out. Gu Lingqing also went into the washroom to take a shower. His computer was not turned off. Baya glanced at it. There should be a lot of confidential documents on his computer. He actually went to the washroom without turning it off. If someone came to peek, a lot of secrets would be exposed. She did not look. The more secrets one knew, the faster one would die. She lay on the bed, took out her phone and went on QQ. A person called Man sent many messages. She had not used this QQ number for a long time. Usually she only used it to contact Lu Shuang. She did not add people easily. She had no impression of this Man. She wondered if her former colleague had changed his name. For example, Lu Shuang changed his name once a month. She could not find him before. Later, she added Lu Shuang's name in her memory. Baya clicked on the message. I'm here. This kind of message was sent almost every day. Baya replied, I'm here. Who are you? Baya, you're finally here. I miss you so much. Where are you now? Man asked. Baya was curious that the other party could call out her name. Who are you? Baya asked. A man who loves you, Man said. Baya felt that the other party was hiding something. Moreover, she was picky, which made her unhappy. Her tone became unpleasant. There are many men who love me. I won't tell you who it is. I'm blacklisting you. The other party was silent for 3 seconds. Baya was going to blacklist him. He typed a few words. Su Jiran. Baya remembered that she had blacklisted Su Jiran in this QQ. How could he still be there? Whether it was Su Jiran or not, she had to blacklist him. The phone was suddenly taken away by a big hand. Baya looked at the owner of the hand. Gu Lingqing scanned through their chat history and frowned. Many men love you? Originally, this sentence was meant to provoke him, and it was more or less intentional and boastful. However, she didn't like it when he snatched her phone and looked at her privacy. She didn't look at anything on his computer. It should be quite a lot, Baya said and went to get his phone back. Gu Lingqing frowned even harder. Are you still in a relationship with your ex-husband? I didn't know Man was his name. I thought it was a woman's name. Besides, I seem to have blacklisted him a long time ago. This sentence was true. Gu Lingqing blacklisted Man and handed the phone to her. Who loves you? Tell me. Baya. It was just a sentence from her, and he took it seriously. Amao ago zhang san li si zhang long zhaohu. Baya made up a random story. Gu Lingqing held her chin, bent down and kissed her lips. To be exact, it wasn't a kiss but a bite. It was a little lighter than a bite, but it didn't diminish. He pushed her onto the bed. Baya was shocked. She put her hands on his chest and blushed. Didn't we just do it? I just washed it clean. Gu Lingqing looked at her deeply. He didn't speak, but his eyes were very bright and they could reflect her. Baya couldn't figure out what he meant. First of all, you either pushed me down or wanted me. Secondly, can't you just do it? Gu Lingqing asked. Well? Baya took the opportunity to sit up and shrink at the foot of the bed. What? Gu Lingqing watched her every move, but he didn't expose her. Once a week is a physiological need, twice a week is a romantic need, 7 times a week means that you don't pay attention to your health, and it's harmful to your body. Baya explained. Gu Lingqing sat by the bed and looked at her. Then how many times a week do you want me to do it with you? Baya felt that his words were a trap. If it was once, she seemed to be used as a tool, she couldn't accept it. If it was twice, it would seem that she was ambitious and what she wanted was not simple. Well, if you're too serious, you'll have a burden. Baya skipped over his question. You also know that being serious will have a burden? Gu Lingqing raised the corner of his mouth and said with an ambiguous expression. Baya. His words were directed at the theory of preserving one's health above her. Baya realized that she couldn't win against him in an argument. It wasn't that he was eloquent and had a glib tongue. Gu Lingqing didn't talk much and most of the time he was as calm as a mountain. However, he was very serious with his words, and it wasn't something that an ordinary person could compete with. Thinking that he was deliberately tricking her, she was a little annoyed and scolded him in a low voice. Win me every time, okay? Doesn't your heart hurt? Doesn't your heart hurt? This sentence was often said on the internet, and it was equivalent to a catchphrase. After she said it, she felt that she was wrong. Gu Lingqing was such a rigid person, how could he know that this was an internet slang used for jokes? He would take it seriously. I'll let you next time, Gu Lingqing promised seriously. Baya had a strange feeling in her heart. She lowered her head and felt his manly scent approaching. He was already in front of her. However, I have to correct you about one thing, Gu Lingqing said. What is it? Baya connected the dots. She didn't seem to have done anything wrong. I, Bu Zonggu, haven't had a woman in the past 3 years and I haven't solved it myself, but I want to do it with you, Gu Lingqing said seriously. Baya's heart was beating extremely fast. What was Gu Lingqing hinting at? Did he like her? Not likely. He liked to have sex with her, but it didn't mean that he liked her personally. He also said that she wasn't his type, and he was very curious about how he could have liked her in the past. But why did he say this to her? Baya looked at his eyes that were as clear as water and as calm as autumn zen. Alright, he was just stating that he liked to do this with her, that was all. It was really an answer that made her not know whether to laugh or cry. You didn't solve it yourself in the past, so what did you do physiologically? Baya tried to divert her thoughts. He was too hot and he was pouncing on her skin through the air. Sports, training, high-tension exercises, and handling work can consume some of my energy. Sometimes the quilt will be dirty once every month or two, Gu Lingqing explained. Baya thought of Su Shaoling. Su Xiaoling was his fiancée. According to her understanding, Su Xiaoling should be older than her. She was already 28 now, and Su Xiaoling had reached the stage of becoming more mature, so she would also need it. Should she remind him about Su Xiaoling's matter? She didn't want to be nosy. But if Gu Lingqing and Su Xiaoling did it and Gu Lingqing did it with her, she would also be in trouble. Anyway, you must use condoms in the future, Baiya said. It was too hot. She climbed towards the side of the bed, away from him. Gu Lingqing looked at her and felt hot. He held her waist and easily carried her into his arms. Didn't you use a birth control ring? You don't have to use it. Chapter 166. Baiya knew that he had misunderstood. I'm talking about you and your fiancé. Baiya regretted it the moment she said it. After he and his fiancée got married, they should have a baby. Shouldn't they have a baby? Gu Lingqing looked at her quietly and didn't say anything. His eyes were too deep. Baiya didn't dare to look at him directly. She felt very awkward and didn't know how to explain. Gu Lingqing let go of her. Baiya immediately stood up and stayed 2 meters away from him, guarding against him. Maybe it was because she hadn't had lunch and she was exercising, but her stomach was growling. Gu Lingqing seemed to know what she was thinking. Have you had lunch? Baiya couldn't deny it. I left in a hurry. I didn't have time. Gu Lingqing made a phone call. Go to the restaurant and ask the chef to make 4 dishes. Gu Lingqing looked at Baiya. Is there anything in particular that you want to eat? Baiya felt that her mouth was bland. She wanted to eat something with a strong taste. Is there a fish head with chopped peppers, spicy chicken, duck blood curd and so on? Gu Lingqing frowned slightly. You like spicy food? Baiya shook her head. I just want to eat it now. Ask the chef to make fish head with chopped peppers, spicy chicken, tomato eggs and winter gourd ribs. That's all. Gu Lingqing hung up the phone after giving the order. Baiya sat down on the sofa and waited for the food. Gu Lingqing didn't say anything. She looked at the computer again and worked. She was a little bored, so she picked up her phone and casually browsed the web. She was quiet, looking as if she was enjoying the peaceful time. Gu Lingqing's eyes were on her face. He seemed to be thinking about something. Baiya saw a piece of news. It said that the police rescued more than 200 children in Dragon City and appealed to their families to claim them. Her eyes darkened. If her and Gu Lingqing's child is still alive, it should be 5 years old. Will her baby be among the rescued children? Back then Su Jiran had said that he had some clues. More than 3 years had passed, but he had not found anything. Otherwise, according to his personality, he would have come to negotiate with her. Is Longqing not too far away from Pingyuan City? Baiya looked up and asked Gu Lingqing. Because she was immersed in her own thoughts, she did not notice the deep look in his eyes. Even if she noticed it, with Gu Lingqing's unfathomable abilities, she wouldn't be able to tell anything. The high-speed train will take more than half an hour. What's wrong? Gu Lingqing asked. Baiya nodded. After this case was solved, she wanted to go to Longqing's Public Security Bureau to try her luck. Just asking. Gu Lingqing looked at the computer screen again. Baiya sat on the sofa in a daze. When her baby was born, she saw it and it didn't look like her. The baby's biological father was Gu Lingqing. If the baby didn't look like her, would it look like Gu Lingqing? Knock, knock, knock. There was a knock on the door. Baiya came back to herself and went to open the door. The soldiers outside the door each brought a dish over. Gu Lingqing closed the computer and put it on the coffee table. The table was empty and he said to the soldier, Go get 2 bottles of drinks. Do you have beer? Baiya asked the soldier. The soldier looked at Gu Lingqing. Go get a few bottles of beer, Gu Lingqing ordered. Yes. The soldier retreated from the room. Baiya sat next to Gu Lingqing and used disposable chopsticks to eat some steamed fish head with diced hot red peppers. It was fresh, salty and spicy. I haven't eaten steamed fish head with diced hot red peppers for a long time. The steamed fish head with diced hot red peppers I make is very delicious. I'll make it for the chief someday, Baiya said casually. Gu Lingqing's expression looked calm, but there was some joy in his eyes. Did you cook for me before? Yes. Baiya was in a good mood today, so she was more talkative. When I go back, I can make a few dishes that I'm good at. I've never had a good appetite, Gu Lingqing said in a deep voice. Baiya looked at Gu Lingqing and couldn't help but care for him. She blurted out, Why not? It's been like this since I left the hospital. There are many things to do and my memory has been blank for many years. There are many things that I need to adapt to. For example, adapting to being the chief of a special military unit. The central government is also against it. Those who are capable will survive. I need to prove that I have the ability and courage. I also need to understand the complicated relationships between people. For example, my fiancé. Everyone told me that I love my fiancé very much. Gu Lingqing stopped abruptly and didn't continue. In fact, he had already said a lot. He didn't know why, but he trusted Baya. Baya lowered her eyes. She didn't experience it, but she could feel it if she thought about it with her brain. A chief who lost his memory, he also lost his experience, strategy, and that graceful courage. He was in a high position, so there would definitely be many people who opposed him. In order to prove that he still had the ability, he needed to put in a lot of effort. Especially Su Xiaoling's existence. That was equivalent to a lie. The ones who lied to him were his family, friends, and everyone he used to trust. It must be very difficult for him to survive in a lie. Baya's heart ached for him. It was no wonder that he had become so harsh, heartless, cold, and ruthless. The soldiers brought 12 bottles of beer, 2 glasses, and a bottle opener. Baya opened a bottle of beer and poured it for him. Gu Lingqing held her hand and looked at her with eyes as dark as ink. Can you tell me the real reason why we broke up? Baya looked at Gu Lingqing. She didn't want to lie to him anymore. Otherwise he would be too pitiful. But she also didn't want to push him to hell. The arrangement of fate. Baya said ambiguously. Gu Lingqing's eyes dimmed and he drank up the beer in the glass. You still refuse to tell me. Baya, what do I have to do to pry open the secret in your heart? The past is like the wind. You really don't have to be so stubborn. If you can, you should try your best to climb up and stand at the highest peak of the world. There is no weakness, and no one can hurt you. Baya said meaningfully and also drank up the beer in the glass. She saw that Gu Lingqing still wanted to ask something, but she was afraid that she couldn't bear it, so she changed the topic and said, Leader, let's play a game. Do you know how to play the drinking game? Gu Lingqing could see that she was deliberately avoiding it, and he was a little annoyed. Drinking game is boring. Let's play cards. It's simple and straightforward. The loser drinks. What if I get drunk? Baya was a little worried. If you get drunk and sleep, you will be sober by then. What are you afraid of? Don't you still have me? Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. Don't you still have me? This sentence was so familiar. It seemed that she had heard Gu Lingqing say it before. She looked at Gu Lingqing and her eyes were sparkling. She was very moved, as if she had found the Gu Lingqing in her heart. Even if that Gu Lingqing would only appear for 1 or 2 seconds, it was enough to make her feel warm. Now she knew why she was still able to live on. Chapter 167. This was probably one of the main reasons why she was willing to compromise with the current Gu Lingqing. There was still a desire in her heart. It was hidden very, very deeply. But it wasn't that there was none. Alright, then let's play cards and draw randomly, right? Baya asked about the rules. Gu Lingqing nodded and asked the soldier to get a deck of cards. He shuffled the cards and let Baya draw. Baya drew 1 card and so did he. Gu Lingqing was very good at playing cards and he almost never lost. Baya was also very straightforward and drank directly. He was very careful and he didn't play cards continuously. He always let her eat a little before playing again. She ate a lot and drank a lot too. She was drunk. Baya came out of the washroom and she was already swaying. Again. She sat next to Gu Lingqing and said with half-closed eyes. No, you've already drunk enough. If you drink any more, it'll hurt your body, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. Heh. Baya laughed and her eyes were sparkling. She sat on Gu Lingqing's lap and put her hand on his shoulder naturally. You care about me? Gu Lingqing pursed his lips and didn't say anything. Her eyes lingered on his face. Gu Lingqing, if you didn't forget about me, guess what would happen to us now? Gu Lingqing realized that she was really drunk. Her little face was red and even her smile was a little simple and honest. What would happen? Gu Lingqing followed her words and said. Baya broke into a smile and touched his soft lips with her middle finger. She was a little infatuated, and the words she said were very pessimistic. Nothing will happen, right? I'm not your type. You like Zhou Hailan. Gu Lingqing frowned and held her hand that was on his lips. You know Zhou Hailan. Baya nodded, tears flowing from the corners of her eyes. Zhou Hailan, the cinnabar mole in his heart, the thorn in her flesh. Gu Lingqing saw her tears and felt a strange sadness in her heart. She wiped her tears with her fingertips and realized a possibility. Does my breakup with you have anything to do with her? Actually, it was unrelated, but it was related. It had nothing to do with the fact that she and Zhou Hailan did not know each other. The two of them had appeared at different times in his life. When she first met him, there was a Zhou Hailan in his heart. She could tell from his reaction when he saw Xia He. After he lost his memory, he forgot about her and remembered Zhou Hailan. This was the direct cause of her suicide. Thinking of this, her heart ached. She didn't want to mention Zhou Hailan anymore. Gu Lingqing, I don't like it when you keep testing me, Baiya expressed. Gu Lingqing fell silent. The corners of Baiya's mouth raised. Actually, I know that you keep me by your side because you want to know about the past. You're drunk. Rest for a while. I'll wake you up when it's almost time for Ping Yen. Gu Lingqing carried Baiya and put her on the bed. Baiya pulled him down and wrapped her arms around the back of his neck. She wrapped her arms around the back of his neck, and the distance between them was less than 10 centimeters. Gu Lingqing looked at her. Didn't you want to know what kind of positions we liked in the past? Baiya asked. Gu Lingqing stared at her. Two little Baiya were reflected in his deep eyes. She was smiling and crying. In her eyes, there was an emotion that he could not fathom. It was more like despair and nirvana. You're really drunk, Gu Lingqing said with a frown. Baiya wrapped her legs around his waist and pulled him in. Gu Lingqing moved closer to her. He frowned slightly and looked into her eyes. This was a very normal action for her. The difference was that she took the initiative, liked and cooperated. This proved that they had really loved each other before. He should ask more questions while she was drunk. Those secrets that she wanted to hide might be blurted out because she was drunk. However, Baiya's words just now flashed through his mind. Gu Lingqing, I don't like you to keep testing me. His heart tightened when he thought of how she cried. He lowered his head and kissed her lips. The drunk Baiya was very passionate. She kissed him back and would rub against him like a pitiful kitten, teasing him. When he wanted her, she would wrap her legs around his waist. This feeling was completely different from the previous few times when he was cold and passive. She was real now, lively and alive. He was very excited and his breathing was heavy. Sweat fell on her body along with his sharp and hard chin. He and she were almost at the same time. Her voice was soft and mellow. It was as beautiful as the sound of nature. He could feel the difference. There was a force of attraction that brought him into her world. Gu Lingqing lowered his head and kissed her lips. She opened her mouth slightly and breathed. Her eyes were unfocused. She was tired and fell into a deep sleep. Gu Lingqing got up. He knew that Baiya liked to be clean. He helped her clean up before he went to the washroom to clean up. When he came out, Baiya was still asleep and wouldn't wake up for a while. On the contrary, he was very clear-headed. He thought about every word Baiya said and every expression she made when she was drunk. He had a feeling that they didn't break up. He lost his memory and had no choice but to separate. Baiya woke up naturally. When she opened her eyes, she saw that Gu Lingqing was still sitting in front of the computer, working. The table had been cleaned up. Even the empty bottles were gone. She was drunk. When she was drunk, her last memory was of her going to the toilet. She would talk nonsense after she lost her memory. He was a little worried. What time is it now? Gu Lingqing looked at Baiya. It's 9 o'clock. You woke up in time. Baiya looked at his expression. She didn't notice anything strange. I didn't say anything nonsense, did I? Gu Lingqing's lips curled up. Is it nonsense to say what kind of position I like? Baiya's face was flushed red. She didn't have to say that. That was too unreserved. Other than that, what else did I say? Baiya had a bad feeling. All right. You didn't say it. You did it directly. Gu Lingqing corrected. Baiya was dumbfounded. Her eyes were wide open as she sized him up, trying to determine if what he said was true or not. The main thing was that they had already done it once. Even if it happened again, she wouldn't feel any difference. Baiya couldn't tell from Gu Lingqing's face. She asked in a low voice, what was it like then? Gu Lingqing didn't say anything. He changed the topic. Are you going with your partner or me? Baiya saw that he didn't say anything. It should be fake. Her expression was much more relaxed. I'll go with my colleagues. It's not good to go alone. I'll go to the castle too. We'll contact each other when the time comes, Gu Lingqing said in a low voice. Baiya got up and walked towards the door. Baiya, you said that the position we like is not convenient for me to come out. You didn't have a birth control ring in the past. I don't think I like to use birth control products. Have we ever had a child? Gu Lingqing suddenly asked. Chapter 168. Baiya knew that she had to be careful when talking to Gu Lingqing. He would be able to spot any mistakes or logical problems. She glanced sideways at Gu Lingqing. How can there be a child when we're in this position? We've only done it a few times. Gu Lingqing. He could sense a deep resentment in her tone. Could it be that he really did not satisfy her in the past? This made Gu Lingqing very uncomfortable. Baiye went back to her carriage. Leng Qiuzuan's sharp gaze was scrutinizing Baiye. It was as if he was looking at an X-ray which made people shudder in fear. She only took a glance at Leng Qiuzuan and pretended that she did not see anything. She returned to her original seat. Where did you go? Leng Qiuzuan asked in a cold tone as if he was interrogating her. I don't think I need to report to you where I go, Baiye said defensively. I'm your team leader now. I have the obligation to ensure your safety. You've been out for 6 hours. Even if you're chatting with someone, 6 hours is too long. Leng Qiuzuan furrowed his eyebrows. I'm not a child. Besides, I was on the train. Where could I have gone? Baiye did not want to answer. That's why I'm even more curious. What could have taken 6 hours on the train? Leng Qiuzuan wanted to get to the bottom of it. My friend was there too, so I went to his place, Baiye said ambiguously. What friend? Leng Qiuzuan asked matter-of-factly. Baiye furrowed her eyebrows. You're the team leader of this case. Even if you're my superior, you have no right to interfere with my freedom to make friends. Mr. Leng, you think too highly of yourself. Leng Qiuzuan gritted his teeth and turned his face away with a ghastly pale face. His lips were pursed tightly. His assistant did not look well. Mr. Leng was definitely angry. Detective Bai, my husband is just concerned about you. He checked his mobile phone several times just to make sure that you're safe, said the assistant. Baiye also felt that his tone was very bad. In the end, it was because he felt guilty, so he used the sharpness and strength of his words to cover it up. I'm sorry, Mr. Leng. Baiye took the initiative to apologize. Leng Qiuzuan continued to ignore her. He was like a statue, not moving an inch. Baiye glanced at him. She had already apologized, so it was up to him whether or not he wanted to forgive her. His phone rang with a message. She saw that it was from Gu Lingqing and clicked on it. If your colleagues ask you where you went, just say that I called you over to ask about the case. It's fine. Baiye put her phone back into her bag. She had already said that she had met a friend. If she were to change her words now, it would be a slap to her face. Anyway, it was a small matter. Leng Qiuzuan adjusted his mood and looked at Baiye, saying, Do you dare to sleep in the castle tonight? Baiye looked at Leng Qiuzuan in surprise. The castle had always had a mysterious and murderous feeling. It was a little creepy and scary even in the daytime. To sleep there at night. This person was too bold. Leng Qiuzuan curled up the corner of his mouth sarcastically. Don't you dare? I heard that you used to be a doctor. Don't tell me that you also believe in nonsense like ghosts and gods? I just think that it will be more comfortable to sleep in a hotel, Baiye explained. Leng Qiuzuan's face became even worse. Do you think that you are asked to come out to handle a case for comfort? I'm sorry, I have to finish this case in 3 days. I don't have time to waste. If you want to go to a hotel, go alone. In fact, I don't think you are needed, Leng Qiuzuan said sarcastically. Baiye was speechless. It was as if it was an unforgivable sin for her not to stay in the castle with them. I know, Baiye answered. Leng Qiuzuan looked away and said coldly, Useless. Baiye was speechless. It would be rude to argue with him in front of him. She didn't need to convince him. She just needed to make up her mind. But she still felt creeped out. Baiye sent a text to Gu Lingqing. Do you know Leng Qiuzuan? He's a very famous detective. He's now the team leader of this case. He wants us to sleep in that murderous castle tonight. Gu Lingqing sent a word. Baiye saw that it was only one word. It was simple and straightforward. There was a sense of loss in her heart. Her phone rang again. It was Gu Lingqing again. I've already arranged it. We will stay in the castle tonight. I'll bring 2 people in. Don't be afraid. Baiye couldn't help but smile. She instantly felt at ease. It was as if wherever he was she would be safe. He gave her this feeling that he could protect her. Leng Qiuzuan snorted coldly. He said at a decibel that Baiye could hear, You're still a little girl. You pretend to be mature and capable. You report to your boyfriend every time something happens. Are you seeking comfort? Baiye looked at Leng Qiuzuan in disbelief. How did he know that she was snitching on him? However, her behavior really looked like she was seeking comfort from her boyfriend. Was Gu Lingqing her boyfriend? Baiye's heart beat faster. She blushed and looked out of the window. She looked like a little girl reflected on the window. Baiye sighed. She had finally walked out of the shadow. Was she going to fall back into it again? Soon the train arrived at the station. Don't fall behind again. Someone from Pinyin City is here to pick us up. They've arranged for supper. Leng Qiuzuan said to the air. Baiya guessed that he was talking to her. She analyzed Leng Qiuzuan from a psychological point of view. Arrogant, rude, arrogant, conceited, and condescending. Besides, he should know about her. He had a world. This world wouldn't be let in casually. He didn't talk to others. Occasionally he would talk to her. He was so arrogant. It meant that he was still willing to let her into his world. It was just that he was still investigating. Baiya suddenly felt that Leng Qiuzuan was quite cute like this. She laughed. Leng Qiuzuan suddenly looked at her with a long face. What are you laughing at? Take a guess. Baiya didn't want to tell him. You're laughing at me. Leng Qiuzuan said very clearly. Baiya laughed even more brightly. Her eyes were curved. It's rare for me to be confused. Hee. Leng Qiuzuan gritted his teeth. You're really laughing at me. Baiya didn't reply to him. She walked in front. The people from the police station greeted them in a police car. The rotating lights on the police car were very bright. It was very easy to recognize. A strong man in the police uniform came forward and greeted Leng Qiuzuan. You're finally here. You must be hungry. Our chief has prepared a meal. Please follow me. Leng Qiuzuan responded coolly. There were a total of 5 of them this time. Each car had a driver and someone to pick them up. Baiya deliberately wanted to sit in a separate car from Leng Qiuzuan. She walked to the car at the back and sat in the back. Leng Qiuzuan sat next to her. Baiya. Chapter 169. Gu Lingqing didn't bring many people for dinner, only 2. The director said warmly, Thank you for coming here despite your busy schedule. Let me introduce you. Mr. Leng Qiuzuan, Assistant Leng, Ms. Baiya, Xiao Wang, Xiao Li. After introducing the people on Baiya's side, the director introduced the people on Gu Lingqing's side. This is Mr. Gu, Mr. Zhang, and Mr. Cheng, who were sent by the military to investigate. Mr. Gu, Mr. Zhang, and Mr. Cheng? Baiya guessed that the director didn't know the real identity of Gu Lingqing. Leng Qiuzuan looked at Gu Lingqing but didn't greet him. Baiya was very guilty. The fact that she was the woman behind Gu Lingqing's back was hidden in the dark. Once it was exposed, there would be endless trouble. She was a little worried that Leng Qiuzuan would see through her, so she didn't greet him. The director saw that the people on both sides weren't polite and felt quite awkward. Sit down. Everyone must be hungry. Let's eat first. The group sat down. Baiya sat opposite Gu Lingqing. Leng Qiuzuan sat next to Baiya. Baiya's foot was suddenly clamped by 2 legs. She slightly frowned and looked at Gu Lingqing. He was calm and didn't look at her at all. He shook the red wine glass in his hand. This man could be so childish. Baiya pulled her foot out. We'll live in the castle after dinner. Can you help us prepare some sleeping mats? Leng Qiuzuan went straight to the point. You're going to live in the castle? The director was very surprised. We're here to solve a case, not to travel. The sooner we find out, the better. I have other things to do. Leng Qiuzuan said very firmly. Oh, that's fine. I'll arrange it now. However, I have to remind you that there are sometimes strange sounds coming from the castle at night. We locals don't dare to approach it. In fact, something happened to the castle before. The chief said. What happened? Gu Lingqing asked coldly. The bureau chief explained, we were afraid that it would cause a negative impact, so this matter wasn't reported in the newspapers. Previously, a few high school students were playful and ran in. Only one came out but he went crazy. Have you found the children? Baiya asked. The chief shook his head. We've sent a few bold officers to search during the day, but to no avail. They didn't even find a corpse. So, you guys have to be careful when you go in. Baiya was an atheist, but he still felt creeped out after hearing about it. This was because she knew another thing. The most terrifying thing in the world was not ghosts and deities, but the human heart. Gu Lingqing kicked her lightly. Baiya came back to his senses and looked at Gu Lingqing. It's better if girls don't stay in there, Gu Lingqing said. Baiya knew that he was concerned about her. She felt a warmth in her heart. I'm so sure too. After all, girls are all cowards. They can just wait for news in the hotel, Leng Qiuzuan said sarcastically. Baiya could tell that Leng Qiuzuan was deliberately targeting her. The warmth in her heart turned into coldness. No need. Let's go in together. I want to solve the case as soon as possible. After Baya said that, the atmosphere became strangely quiet again. The chief laughed dryly and said, "Let's eat. Our pufferfish is very famous. We also have sori which you can't find anywhere else." Baya had never eaten pufferfish before, so she picked up some and put it in her mouth. It tasted like furry pigskin. It tickled her tongue, so she spat it out. "Not used to it?" the chief asked with concern. "Yes," Baya answered and didn't deny it. "I've heard of Ms. Bai's name for a long time. I thought you were an old lady. I didn't expect you to be so young and beautiful. Do you have a boyfriend?" the chief asked. This question made Baya feel quite awkward. "Not yet," Baya said perfunctorily. Gu Lingqing was displeased and kicked her again. Baya frowned and added, "I'm too busy with work. I don't think about it for now." "Heh," Leng Qiuzuan sneered and looked at Baya with disdain. It was obvious that he didn't agree with her. Baya. She guessed that in Leng Qiuzuan's eyes she was a person who couldn't be compared to what she appeared to be. She was annoyed for no reason and asked with a smile, "Mr. Leng, you don't have a girlfriend either, right?" "What? You want to be with me?" "I'm sorry, but I don't like you," Leng Qiuzuan said arrogantly. Gu Lingqing's face looked even worse. When he looked at Baya, he was obviously angry. However, it was only for a moment. He hid it very well. Baya wasn't angry either. When it came to people like Leng Qiuzuan, she would lose if she was angry. Baya said with a smile, "Mr. Leng, don't worry. I'm not blind among the people here. I'd rather like Mr. Gu than you." Leng Qiuzuan was angry. He looked at Gu Lingqing up and down as if he was looking at his rival in love. Gu Lingqing was a little taller than him, a little stronger than him, a little better looking than him, calmer and more enigmatic than him. He suddenly frowned as if he had seen Gu Lingqing somewhere before. The chief's voice was dry. "Eat, eat." The chief's hospitality was quite generous. Well, Baya guessed that the chief only needed to sign the bill. Every unit like this had a hospitality fee. Therefore the chief gave everyone a plate of bread crabs. The bread crabs were golden and covered with egg yolk. They looked delicious. "I'll wash my hands first," Baya said and stood up. "Poor and fastidious," Leng Qiuzuan said unhappily as if he was deliberately trying to suppress her. Baya didn't know when she offended him. Because they were both famous, but he didn't have to go that far. Forget it. After this case they probably wouldn't have a chance to meet again. Bear with it for a while and everything would be peaceful. Baya went to the washroom, washed her hands and came out. Gu Lingqing stood by the wall and smoked. Baya wanted to pretend that she didn't know him and walk over. Gu Lingqing held her wrist. Baya was shocked. She was pulled into the men's washroom by him. Baya's heartbeat quickened. She lowered her voice and said, "Gu Lingqing will be seen here. It's not good." "Don't you have a boyfriend?" Gu Lingqing questioned. Baya felt that his tone wasn't very good. "Don't you know whether I have a boyfriend or not?" Gu Lingqing looked at her fiercely. "In the future, no matter who asks you, you must say that you have a boyfriend. Do you understand?" He sounded like he was ordering her. Baya couldn't be bothered to argue with him. "Got it. I have to go back now. They'll be suspicious if I'm late." Gu Lingqing lowered his head and kissed her hard on the lips. His breath was too strong with the smell of tobacco and the danger of a mature man. Baya was too nervous. Her nose was densely covered in sweat. She pressed against Gu Lingqing's chest, hoping that he would stop after a little taste. Gu Lingqing originally wanted to just kiss her, but after touching her soft lips, he didn't want to stop after a little taste. The washroom's handle clicked. Baya was so shocked that her heart almost jumped out of her throat. Chapter 170. Gu Lingqing carried her into the last cubicle. The space was too narrow. She could feel his heartbeat when she put her hand on his chest. Thump, 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 thump. Suddenly she felt a little sad and looked up at Gu Lingqing. At least he was still alive, wasn't he? She should thank God that it was only his memory that was taken away, not his life. However, what was the bitterness in her eyes? Was it unwillingness, sadness, or pity? Baya lowered her head. Her long eyelashes covered the real emotions in her eyes. She shouldn't have let him see it. "That Mr. Gu's identity is very noble, right?" Leng Qiuzuan's voice was heard. "Yes, it should be. The higher-ups told us to listen to his orders," the director replied. "Does he have a girlfriend?" Leng Qiuzuan asked calmly and turned on the tap to wash his hands. "I'm not sure. I don't even know who he is. How would I know if he has a girlfriend?" the director said with a smile. "This Mr. Gu is a lady killer. My assistant and Baya blush when they see him. Leng Qiuzuan said sarcastically and opened the door to go out. Baya. She blushed when she saw Gu Lingqing? Why didn't she know? Leng Qiuzuan's observation skills were too strong. She was very worried. Did you see me blush? Gu Lingqing asked with great interest. No, maybe it's because he drank a little. Leng Qiuzuan likes to talk nonsense, Baya denied. Gu Lingqing kissed her on the lips. Baya moved back. Gu Lingqing was unhappy and pinched her chin. Baya pushed Gu Lingqing's hand away and explained, "We've been out for a long time. If we don't go back, people will suspect us." Without waiting for Gu Lingqing's reply, she opened the door and walked out with her head covered. When he returned to the private room, everyone was there except for Gu Lingqing. Leng Qiuzuan glanced at Baya. "You were gone for a long time. I thought you had drowned in the washroom." Baya was a little embarrassed. Leng Qiuzuan had been targeting her. "Do you have to care about the length of time?" Baya said in a low voice, not paying attention to his tone. Leng Qiuzuan looked at her and met Baya's resentful gaze. There was even a tinge of shyness in her eyes. She was shy because Leng Qiuzuan said that Baya blushed when she saw Gu Lingqing. Leng Qiuzuan had a strange look in his eyes. He picked up the teacup beside him and took a sip. Baya ignored her and peeled the crabs herself. They were quite delicious. Leng Qiuzuan placed his crabs beside her. Baya looked at him in confusion. "Help me peel them," Leng Qiuzuan said simply. Baya smiled. Where did he get the courage to think that she would help him peel them? "Assistant Leng, this is for your husband. Sorry for the trouble." Baya passed the plate to Assistant Leng. Leng Qiuzuan's face darkened. "Is this how you treat your boss?" "You're not my boss," Baya said bluntly. Leng Qiuzuan, Gu Lingqing came in from the door and sat opposite Baya. "Does Mr. Gu have a girlfriend?" Leng Qiuzuan asked directly. Because he was in a bad mood, even his tone was not good. Gu Lingqing glanced at Baya. "Yes," he said in a low voice. Baya's heart was beating very fast. No, Gu Lingqing did not only have a girlfriend, he had a fiancée. Baya's beating heart calmed down. "That's a pity." Leng Qiuzuan smiled and glanced at Baya. Baya. This was the first time she saw Leng Qiuzuan smile. But why did he look at her when he smiled? It gave her a bad feeling. After dinner it was already 11 o'clock. The director ordered someone to bring 8 sleeping mats and 8 blankets. They set off to the castle together. The location of the castle was a little remote. It took more than an hour to drive from Pingyan City. Baya did not want to talk to Leng Qiuzuan, so she pretended to sleep the moment she got in the car. She had insomnia easily at night. Plus, she had slept during the day, so she really could not sleep now. Suddenly, she felt a hand on her shoulder. She did not know what he wanted. Leng Qiuzuan used some strength. Baya fell on Leng Qiuzuan's shoulder. Baya. She smelled the faint scent of cologne on his body, with a feeling that could confuse her mind. Should she pretend to be asleep or open her eyes? She did not open her eyes before. If she opened them now, it would feel very awkward. The car stopped at a red light. Gu Lingqing's car stopped next to Baya's car. He subconsciously looked into their car. When he saw Baya leaning on Leng Qiuzuan's shoulder, his pupils shrank and a sharp light shot out of his eyes. He picked up his phone and called Baya. Baya's phone rang. She was glad that someone called her so that she woke up so naturally. Leng Qiuzuan explained, "You fell on my shoulder yourself." Baya. She took out her phone from her bag and saw that it was Gu Lingqing's. Suddenly she felt that she was not glad. She answered Gu Lingqing's call. "Did you not sleep enough during the day?" Gu Lingqing asked. His tone was heavy as if he was depressed. Baya did not understand what Gu Lingqing meant at first, and subconsciously looked out of the window. She met Gu Lingqing's eagle-like eyes, and guessed that Gu Lingqing saw her leaning on Leng Qiuzuan's shoulder, so she explained, "It won't happen again." "Wake up," Gu Lingqing said in a direct and commanding tone. Baya felt very guilty, as if she had done something bad and was found out. "I got it." She hung up the phone. The light was green. "Boyfriend checking up on me?" Leng Qiuzuan asked, glancing at Baya from the corner of his eyes. "Mr. Leng likes to be nosy," Baya said, leaning back on the chair. "Didn't you say that you don't have a boyfriend?" "I don't know how women like you lie," Leng Qiuzuan said coldly. "What I think has nothing to do with you," Baya said bluntly. Leng Qiuzuan was furious and he kicked the chair in front of him. Leng Qiuzuan's assistant was sitting in the chair in front of him. The assistant's face turned pale. She knew that Mr. Leng did not like people criticizing him, so she immediately explained, "Mr. Leng never likes to be nosy. Mr. Lung is very responsible, maybe because Ms. Bai is a member of the team so he cares a little more. Baiya did not want to fight with Lung Qiuzuan. After all, they still had to solve the case together, so she stopped while she was ahead. She changed the topic and asked the police officer who was driving, "How much longer until we arrive?" "More than half an hour. To be honest, you guys are really bold. There is one more thing that our director didn't tell you. In 2007, a creepy thing happened in this castle," the police officer said. "What creepy thing?" Baiya asked. "You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."